Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you please take your seats so we can get started. We want to officially call to order our meeting. We will operate via a committee structure this morning. But before we turn it over to Chair Lady Smith of our Academic Affairs Committee, our invocation this morning will be provided by the Reverend Clee Lowe, who is the pastor of the Mount Carmel Baptist Church of Scotlandville. Reverend Lowe.
Good morning, my brothers and sisters in Christ. We thank you for this privilege to come before this esteemed body of leaders in higher education. Before I could proceed with the prayer, there is a word that is given over in Luke, the 18th chapter, verse number 1. And he spake a parable unto them, and to this end, that men ought always to pray and not faint. With every eye closed and every head bowed, let us petition God. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for every seat that has been filled here today. For each mind and heart that feels the presence of this room, we thank you. Only you truly know what our Board of Supervisors are setting out to accomplish today. We have an idea, a vision, hints, and daily instructions. We have talents, abilities, and time to work. However, oh God, only you can see in perfect detail the end of every beginning, every project, every season, every life. Nothing is ever in vain, for even mistakes and missteps are used for good. Your righteousness transcends all our efforts and understanding. So I ask in the name of Jesus, forgive us for our pride, the pride that puffs us up and the pride that threatens to unqualify us. Strengthen our confidence in you, who have made us to be who we are. Set us free from the comparison in order to work together efficiently. Bless this meeting today only as you can. We ask your blessings upon the lives of our students, the faculty, the staff, the administration, the Jaguar Nation, and those we will encounter afterwards. Ready us to make every moment count. And Lord, I pray today that you will be done through this, that your will be done through this meeting. Take whatever has been prepared and multiply our efforts as only you can. Steer our intentions to align with your righteous will and remind us of your faithful provision when our efforts fail us or fall apart. Father, blanket us now with your peace today and keep us physically safe and guard our hearts and our minds from pride and selfishness. Keep love at the forefront of our minds today. It is the name that is above every name in your Son, the risen Christ Jesus. Let every heart say together now, amen, and thank God.
Amen. Dr. Lowe, on behalf of the Southern University Board of Supervisors and our system, Dr. Renee will present you with this certificate of appreciation for you offering such inspirational words this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Rutledge, and thank all of you for accepting and receiving me this morning.
And one of your members, Dr. Leroy Davis, wanted us to know that you are his pastor. And so we're praying for you, Reverend Lowe.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh, you've been there longer than I am old.
45 years. How you doing? You can stay ready, Dr.
Thank you again, Reverend Lowe and Dr. Davis and Dr. Renee. We now recognize Dr. Ronnie Whitfield, who will introduce the Southern University Laboratory student who will provide our Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Whitfield.
Good morning, everyone. Brandy is a recent 12th grade student at Southern University Lab School who graduated on our 2020-21 valedictorian with a 4.5 GPA, a very humble and respectful young lady who strives to do her best at all times. She has attended Southern University Lab School since the 6th grade. Brandy has maintained a high grade point average, all while balancing her extracurricular activities, which include being a dancing doll, where she held the title of co-captain, president of the History Club, member of the Senior Beta Club, student ambassador, and president Youth and Government. She has also held memberships in the National Honor Society and the National Society of High School Scholars. Brandy Lee is the daughter of Miss Alicia Lee Turner and Mr. Brandon Lee, and she plans to attend the greatest university in the universe, Southern University A&M College, to major in accounting. Brandy, would you please come forward?
May everyone please be seated. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Brandy, we have something for you. Please hold toe tight. Come back to the podium, please. And Mr. Bristol, if you come forward, we'll get a picture with Brandy. On behalf of the Southern University Board of Supervisors, we award the Certificate of Achievement to Brandy Nicole Lee for her dedication and commitment to academic excellence at Southern University Laboratory School, awarded on this day, May 21st, 2021, signed by Honorable Des Moines Rutledge, President Ray Belton, myself, and Director Herman Bristol.
Thank you. Now we'll recognize Ms. Zan Smith, Chair of the Academic Affairs Committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Rutledge. Academic Affairs Committee is now called to order. Roll call.
Yes. Mrs. Smith, Dr. Tarver, Dr. Davis, Mr. Gilliam,
Mr. Gillum is present. He just stepped out of the room for a second.
Mr. Lawson, Ms. Reeves, Attorney Rutledge.
Here.
We have a quorum, Madam.
Adoption of agenda.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move adoption of the agenda with one addition, an informational item regarding curriculum that will be presented by Mr. Bakari Garvey. And we would like to make that item 8B under informational items, and I so move.
It has been moved. Can I get a second? It has been moved and second. All in favor? Let it be
Aye.
known by aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Nay. Ayes have it. Public comments? None. Today, we're going to begin with a special presentation, and it comes from Mr. Al Harrell.
Good morning. Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, Dr. Belton, members of the board. We are most appreciative for this opportunity to recognize the philanthropy of Mark and Dawn Malveaux. Their gift of $1 million not only represents their commitment to directing sizable investments to their alma mater, but it further demonstrates their dedication to providing our talented students with resources to achieve their academic goals, both now and in the future. This gift also holds historical significance for our university system as the first $1 million endowed scholarship in the university's 141-year history. As the higher education sector continues to be increasingly competitive, investments of this magnitude play a strategically important role in helping us develop a talented pipeline of students prepared for the workforce. We are profoundly grateful for Mark and Dawn's generosity and are fortunate to have the opportunity to celebrate their philanthropy with the Jaguar family today. At this time, I would like to ask Donald Andrews, the Dean of the College of Business, to provide some remarks on the impact this gift will have on the College of Business here at Southern University. Dean Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Rell. And to the board, administration, and to Mr. Mark and Don Malvo, I would like to say that this is a great investment in Southern University and the College of Business. I'd just like to take a moment, and I know I'll have to be brief, but I'd just like to read a letter that was written back on January 12th, 1987. It was written to Mr. Mark Anthony Malvo, 206 Alfred Street, Lafayette, Louisiana. Mr. Malvo, permit me to take this opportunity to congratulate you on being one of Louisiana's most outstanding high school students. Southern University's Academic Scholarship Committee has reviewed your application and other data and strongly recommends you as an academic scholarship recipient. Upon that committee's recommendation, I am honored to award you the Southern University Board of Supervisors Scholarship. The cash value of this award is $5,000 for a maximum of 4 academic years until you graduate. You will receive $1,250 each year, $625 per semester, excluding the summer session. So I really want to thank the Board of Supervisors for making the investment in Mr. Mark Malvo back in 1987. As we say in economics, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And so Mark is returning that investment, which in today's dollars would be $11,750. And he is returning for that investment in him $1 million, which means for every dollar we have invested in him, he is returning $85. So we need to continue to make these type investments. And these funds will be invested in our students of the future so that we can go out and not only make a point, but make a difference in terms of the Southern University investment in society in Louisiana and the rest. So I thank you for indulging me these moments. So thank you, Mark and Don Malvo, for all the things you have done. And he has continued more or less to invest in Southern University and the College of Business. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Andrews. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, if you would like to offer some remarks at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Harrell. And I certainly want to appreciate or state my appreciation of the comments of Dean Andrews. You know, particularly we always talk about the need to invest in our institution. You know, Mark and Dawn, both of whom I understand are alums of Southern University, as my son would say, they're speaking right into the mic. Their actions are glowing well beyond their words. It appears to me that in keeping with their experience at Southern University, they remember how this institution invested in them, and this gift memorializes that memory. And so I want to personally express my appreciation to Mark and Don for giving back to Southern University. As Dean Andrews made mention, it goes a long way in securing the future and enabling us to enable students to realize their aspirations for careers in this global marketplace, and certainly within the business community. So thank you. Thank you on behalf of this institution for the action that you have taken, notwithstanding the long-standing commitment that you've offered to the university by way of words. Thank you very much.
It's said in life, during our journey in life, that we should build bridges behind us. And not only should we build those bridges, but we should invest in them such that they're strong and sturdy for others to cross. So I want to thank you for building bridges behind you, but not only building those bridges, but investing in them to make certain that they're there for others to cross. Thank you so very kindly.
At this time now, we would like to have the opportunity to bring our benefactors up to make some remarks. Mark and Dawn, if you would.
Thank you. Dean Andrews, that's a pretty good return on your investment. It's pretty amazing to come back to a place that's been so important to myself and my wife. My uncle worked here and retired. My aunt was a mathematics professor here. My wife's father was an assistant band director. And we have a host of people who are graduates of Southern University. My view is that this is a tribute to those people who raised me and raised Dawn. And it's also a challenge for other Southern University alums in corporate America to step up. I stated before that what's good for HBCUs is good for America. And I intently believe that. And we are thrilled to be able to make this type of investment, and I can't wait for more people to step up to do that. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll have a photo here in the middle. All right, thanks.
Again, testing. Again, we would like to thank this family for reaching back and supporting Southern University. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for the gift that you have given. And now we will move to our action items. We have action item A, B, and C. Can I get a motion rather than go through each one, or would?
Second. Oh,
It has been,
I move for adoption, Madam Chair, of action items 7A, B, and C.
it has been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by. Any opposition? Nay. Action item 7 carries. And now we will move to our information items. And this item is an update on academic tenure and promotion process. We started this discussion, or there were some questions, and over the period of the month, we have asked Dr. Saihu if he will come forth and give us just a process, a brief process of this motion, so that the entire board will be.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Academic Affairs Committee, the Chair of Board of Supervisors, President Belton, and other members of the Board of Supervisors. Allow me a moment of privilege to thank Mr. and Mrs. Malvo for this wonderful gift of confidence in us. I'm a faculty in the School of Business. So on behalf of the faculty, thank you. And again, quickly, my appreciation to the Chairman of the Board of Trustees and the board for hosting the reception yesterday. I'm on the ground here, and your recognition of the persons who contributed, helped us stay open, went a long way. So thank you. Madam Chair, this presentation addresses some of the questions, some of the issues, and then also for you to get to feel comfortable about the tenure and promotion process review at the Southern University A&M College. I want to, at the outset, mention that this presentation has benefited from extensive consultation with the chair of the board of, chair of the Academic Affairs Committee, Madam Smith, and members, Doctors Gilliam, Davis, and Dr. Tarver, and also has, through consultation with my president, the chief academic officer, Dr. Ammons, and also with the faculty senate leadership. Next slide. Everything that we do at our university, all the activities are mission linked or mission driven. And our mission is to provide a high quality education to a diverse student population. More specifically, we make a promise that we will maintain, promote, and sustain a student-centered learning environment that will enable and ensure student success. So that's what it is linked to. Next slide, please. In order to accomplish this mission, what I just mentioned, we can only do this with the help of our faculty. So we recruit, retain, and develop the best faculty to help accomplish our institutional mission. And tenure and promotion process is linked to the mission and linked to this intent to recruit, retain, and develop and offer a merit and incentive-based promotion opportunity. Next slide. So the process closely follows the faculty handbook. Review of faculty performance leads to grant of tenure and promotion by the Board of Supervisors. Our prevalent process, the present process, is rooted in shared governance and is comparable to other senior institutions. Review by faculty peers is conducted at multiple levels and over several time periods through a 6-year period, usually if you're going from assistant professor to associate professor. Next slide, please. The performance focus is on 3 main areas. It's on instructional excellence, focused on teaching, where we include student evaluation. I'm just giving you the main points, the chair and the dean evaluation, and then a faculty peer review. Research, where we look at your publication record, where you are making intellectual contributions, which is recognized through peer-reviewed journals, through books published or chapters in books, and also through participation and successful grant opportunities or sponsored research. Service, we look at service to the university, service to your college or university, service to the community, and service in a larger global scale. Next slide, please. This is where I think I want the chair to be comfortable, the board members to be comfortable in saying that we have multiple levels of faculty review, peer review. It starts with year 1. And so the program department reviews the performance of the faculty member, the probationary faculty member on year 1, year 3, and year 6. The same thing also happens at a different group of faculty at the college level, at the university level. And if there is an appeal, there is a separate peer review, faculty peer review that listens to the appeal, and it's through the chancellor, and then it flows up to the board of supervisors. Next slide, please. So review at each level is conducted separately and independently. An applicant can appeal at each level of review up to the level of the chancellor. So the faculty review takes place at each level up to the level of the chancellor. Next one. The participants in this performance review are tenured faculty in the program department, the department chair, tenured faculty in the college dean, tenured faculty at the university, the vice chancellor for academic affairs, the president chancellor, ultimately the board of supervisors. Just so you know the robustness, the many eyes, many persons that contribute to this performance review process. Next slide, please. Probationary faculty status is, our practice is it is verified and monitored at the department, college, and university level. We have faculty that are on particularly hired on the probationary tenure track faculty. We have instructors, and we have also professors of practice. So that confirmation that somebody is in probationary status is confirmed by academic affairs, consultation with the department and college. And we are trying to, this is something that is there, but in consultation last time with the faculty senate, we are trying to appoint for every probation. It happens, but we are trying to make it more consistent and reliable, the use of a faculty mentor for every faculty recruit. And general performance evaluation is conducted using annual evaluation, more comprehensive review, and constructive feedback is provided midstream on year 3 to a faculty member where they are making progress towards tenure or not, and on completion of the 3rd year for assistant professors. Next slide, please. The issue that was raised at Shreveport was only on a small part on that, the areas of, the focus is on teaching, research, and service. But inside the review of instructional excellence, there used to be something like a evaluation document that was called faculty peer review of faculty teaching. And that was discontinued for some reason, or I know the reason, but in 2014. So it is not generating the data. It was discontinued because many of the questions were not relevant. And so now in consultation with the faculty senate, we are going to reinstate some form of feedback review that will generate that data that will be added to the dossier and to the evaluation scoring document. The reason it got your attention was because in the absence of the points, 20 points or points, 20 percentage points for the faculty peer review, the college and the department gave 20 out of 20, and the university committee did not give any points. So in academic affairs, we had to normalize the score. So for your confidence that one of the two things is going to happen, or both, that we will reinstate the faculty peer review process. It might be a actual observation of instruction and getting constructing feedback from a committee of faculty. Till that happens, please know that both the committees have agreed to normalize the score so that there will not be a difference between the recommendation that comes from each of these level and academic affairs. Next slide, please. Our goal, an applicant is expected to meet all the minimum standards in each of these three areas of performance uniquely, and usually deficiency in one does not compensate for the other. And it is designed to retain the services of a wholesome faculty, an outstanding faculty that is committed to serve our university mission. So this is a description of our existing tenure promotion review, and it is comparable to other institutions, and it serves the purpose for which it is designed. Thank you, Madam Chair. Next one.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes. Yes, Dr. Sahu,
Yes, sir.
will you explain what you mean by normalizing the score? I'm an old statistics professor and economist, and I'm pretty familiar with the normal distribution, but what process you using to normalize a score? How is that done?
What we did was, it was simply this. Let's say there's 20 points for the peer review, that thing that was missing in the college and department. So if a faculty member got 75 out of 80, and they have to make 80 in order to gain, affirmation or endorsement from the faculty at the college and the department level. So if they got 75 out of 80, the college department added 20 points to it. So it became 95 out of 100. So they gave 20 out of 20. So because of the absence of data. When it came to the university committee, they said, we can't do that. We don't have the data. So they chose to give 0 out of 20. So it became 75 out of 100. So if you look at your scoring sheets, nobody met unless they got 80 out of 80, they did not meet the standards. So they gave 70, so the total score was 75 out of 100. So what we did in academic affairs, we normalized it by making it 75 out of 80. So we brought it up to 100. So instead of 95, it probably was like 88 or 91. And that is what I meant by normalizing the score.
So if the college committee gave them an evaluation of 70, that was below the standard for moving forward, and you would add some additional 5-10 points to that score. How did you arrive at that additional 5 or 10 points? Where'd you get that number from?
If the college gave, 70 out of 80, we normalized it. 70 divided by 80 is 87.5%. We did not just arbitrarily add. So we took 70 divided by 80 and we got 87.5. What they would do otherwise is they would just add 20 points, it'll be 90. And the college committee was making it just 70.
So you just did a ratio of what the total points.
Yes, sir.
And
That's exactly
and you call
correct.
that ratio the actual score.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let me ask you, changing the subject on that. You mentioned that in 2014 that you stopped doing peer evaluations. I don't believe you were here at that time, right?
No, sir.
Okay, so you really don't have all of the information on why that was done, do you?
I think there was a evaluation document. What I understood, sir, there were questions like, did the faculty come to class on time? You know, in academic life, faculty don't come at particular time and leave at particular time. So the faculty said, I don't know, I teach in the evening and his classes are during the daytime. So I'm having difficulty giving a score from 1 to 5. And so I think what I understood from my research, those are the reasons, because the questions were not relevant, were not generating the data that would adequately reflect the performance of the faculty. That's why I think in the wisdom of the faculty, they decided to discontinue it.
You indicated, do I still have the floor?
Go ahead.
You want to cut me off? I'll close it down.
We are going to have a part 2 with this. So, and we have 3 other campuses that we have to cover. So for that reason, I'm going to ask that generally we kind of stop with Dr. Sahu here, and we're going to go with Suno. And if you have additional questions, board, then jot them down and we will make sure that we turn them in to the proper source that should have them. If you don't.
Okay, I hope at some point in time, I do get to ask my questions.
Yes, sir, Dr. Davis.
And I would like to ask my questions publicly, because it's not important that I know. What's important is that the faculty know what's going on.
Okay. Do you
and
have
to be
an
honest with you,
additional-
let me make a statement,
Okay.
and then I'll let you have your chairship back. I need to ask this one because some faculty members are calling me, Dr. Sahu, and the main reason, and I just summarized, that they're not getting timely responses from anybody. Particularly, I don't know who's doing it in your office, but I'm getting, and I don't want to call the names out, but that they are not getting, not that the process is flawed, but the fact that they are not getting timely responses. And there's some timelines in your process. And the other thing is that they are following the faculty handbook, but it appears that the faculty handbook and the process we are using are not consistent. So the faculty handbook, and you don't have to answer all of this, but let me just get this out. Faculty handbook is saying one thing, what they're telling me, and that the process that we are using is different. So the faculty is frustrated and confused. And that's the end of what I need to say. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate your indulgence.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. And with some of those questions, if you don't mind, jot them down and we will make sure that the proper sources are and the proper steps are taken,
Okay, they
getting
just
them
need
to the deans.
communicate with the faculty.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
That the faculty be notified. So I've been through the promotion process. I mean, come on. I'm not trying to make a living anymore. I'm not trying to get promoted anymore. But when I was in the process, I knew what the process was. And the university followed that process. But if the faculty member, you change the process, you don't inform the faculty, that causes a lot of frustration and it makes the university look like it's a banana republic and not an institution of higher learning. So we need to get that straight. Thank you. I don't need to ask any more questions. I don't need to jot anything down.
Thank you,
very
Dr.
much.
Davis. I recognize the chair.
Thank
Chair
you.
Rutt.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Madam Chair Lady, just to sort of put a finer point on some of the comments Dr. Davis made, and I don't know if you had planned to do this today, and if not, I certainly will yield to us doing it at another setting and another public setting. But I was hopeful that, and I don't know if a faculty representative is here or the president of the faculty is here, Senate. I did see Dr. Trevette. Okay, so we do have a person here.
The
Well, if you
faculty
just
senate
wait,
president is here.
if you just wait 1 second, sir. I don't know whether or not, I don't want to get ahead of the chair of the committee. But there does appear to be some dissonance in this process. And I want to thank Mr. Gillum and Dr. Davis for requesting that we have the conversation. But I would like to at some point, Madam Chair, and if not today, at an appropriate time, hear from the faculty, to the extent that we've got a breakdown in this process, how they think it ought to be corrected. Again, as I said to you in our private conversations about this, this is a process that ought to be peer driven. And I don't believe that the board, which is why this is an informational item today, ought to impose anything on this process. I think it ought to be very collaborative between the administration and the faculty. And I just want to emphasize, I want to make certain, Dr. Belton, because the buck ultimately stops with you, and to all of these chancellors, obviously, I want to make certain that the faculty has a meaningful seat at the table. And I know each of you appreciate that because you came to your positions through being a faculty member. And that's the only point that I want to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Belton.
Madam Chair, let me also just say that I appreciate this discussion. Madam Chair, with your permission, I would like the Faculty Senate President to offer his observations. We have been very diligent in trying to shape a collaborative relationship with the faculty. And as Dr. Sahu made mention, even in preparation for this presentation, we engaged with the faculty such that we could identify a process that was fair and equitable to the members of our faculty body here on the SUBR campus. Admittedly, last year was an anomaly where the timelines that shaped our policy were not advanced, due in part to our reaction to the pandemic. However, we believe that we have clarified a number of things going forth with the consent and support of the faculty, and that such that going forth, we can abide by what is documented in the faculty handbook. So if you would permit me, I would like the Faculty Senate President to offer some comments.
Thank you, Dr. Belton. And we do anticipate including the faculty, because on all of the statements that were made, it was important that the faculty had a buy-in. And so we do appreciate you being here. I recognize you.
Yes, my name
Sir.
is Dr. Oswald DeVerne. I'm the current SUBR Faculty Senate President. And there are some problems right now with the way the tenure promotion is written in the handbook. So we are currently in the process of revamping it. And certain things were eliminated, and we are working diligently now with the faculty and the administration to correct the problems. Now, one of the problems we've seen is the timeliness of responses to the faculty grievances, and it hasn't been timely. And like we said, maybe because it was the pandemic, but we're going to correct that in the future. So I can guarantee you we're going to work with the administration and the faculty, get the input, and we're going to take corrective actions so we don't have this problem in the near future.
Thank you, sir. Board members, I recognize any board members that have questions. And if we do not have the opportunity to answer them in detail, we plan to address this again, either next board meeting or the board meeting afterwards. So if we can gather the questions and find out where the flaws are, then that's what we will work on, or you will work on, between now and the next board meeting. Thank you. Any other board member?
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam President. I also commit that the question that were asked, concerns raised will be addressed through the Faculty Senate President in the Faculty Senate meeting so that we get more questions and more feedback, and we will respond to the concerns that were shared here at the faculty forum. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And again, any board member that have additional information to offer or questions, please jot it down so that it will be addressed in the following board meeting. And now we're going to introduce, or may I say, present Southern University of New Orleans, Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To members of the Academic Affairs Committee, members of the board, President Belton, my colleagues, and everyone assembled here, thank you for this opportunity to discuss what I think is the bedrock of academia, tenure, and promotion. Some of the most important decisions that we make as institutions in granting tenure and promotion. My presentation is very similar to Dr. Sahu's. We were asked to make a presentation regarding the processes on each of the campuses. I will say as well that the processes on each campus flow from the Southern University systems policy regarding tenure and promotion. If we could go to the next slide. As Dr. Sahu said, everything that we do flows from our mission. The mission at SUNO has been reviewed recently as a part of our Southern Association of Colleges and Schools reaffirmation of accreditation. But one thing remained constant, and that is the focus on student success. Next slide. The purpose of tenure review, of course, is to promote accountability, fairness, and consistency in that process, and most of all, ensure faculty excellence. Next slide. The provisions of tenure, each of the campuses have sets of criteria that are used to make tenure and promotion decisions. But in this case, we're talking about tenure. Again, teaching excellence, personal, professional excellence, research, university service, professional activities, student mentoring, including academic advisement, are all a part of the criteria. Assistant professors are equivalent, are eligible to apply for tenure after serving in a probationary period. Faculty members promoted to the rank of associate professor or equivalent will also be eligible for tenure. Faculty members initially employed at the rank of professor and associate professor, each of those ranks will have a probationary period if they are hired at those ranks prior to being considered for tenure. The process is very similar on each of our campuses. It begins in the department at the programmatic level, the department chair or director, the college retention, tenure and promotion committee, the dean, the vice chancellor for academic affairs, then to the chancellor, then to the president of the university system, and to you, the board of supervisors. The process, next slide. The process for promotion, again, is the same. Promotion from one academic rank to the next will be based on merit criteria, possession of specific degrees, time spent in a specific rank. While considered as factors in determining merit, those alone are not the justification for promotion. It is the responsibility of the faculty member to determine whether he or she is eligible for promotion. The Board of Supervisors, again, will have the ultimate responsibility for promoting or denying promotion to our faculty. The procedure that is being used on the SUNO campus, again, as I said, is very similar to the tenure process. There is a portfolio that a faculty member will assemble. We will also look for student evaluations over a 3-year period, peer evaluations over a 3-year period, deans, directors, and chairs, as well as faculty evaluations for successive years, documentations of honors, awards, recognitions bestowed, all are part of the portfolio that will be considered and will go through each of the steps in the tenure, in the promotion process. Next slide. And then we've established a timeline. There has been some discussion about timeliness of responses. We have a timeline at SUNO where we finish everything by February 25th so that we bring those recommendations to the president and to the board prior to the faculty leaving for the academic year. So again, we begin with our departmental and program directors' recommendations starting back in October and going through February. Appeals, if you'll go to the next slide. There is an appeals process. Any review outcomes can be appealed, and faculty members can appeal by the 10th workday after the receipt of the written notification. The chancellor's decision regarding retention is final. However, tenure and promotion will come to the president and to the board.
Dr. Ammons, could I interject for a second, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yes.
I just got a quick, I want to, and Dr. Ammons, this may not be fair for me to hit you with this, but I'm wondering why, if we've got a system, why are we having separate reports from every chancellor about an issue that I would believe is standardized for the system, except for most likely Sussla and the law school. But for the campuses that this should be a system-wide standard such that at least our faculty would understand what's going on, whether it's at SUNO or SUBR. Why would we have an individual presentation from each campus to tell me, and it's not your fault, Dr. Ammons, but to say, basically, we do the same thing that SUBR does. There may not necessarily be a reason to have this particular presentation. I would hope it's standardized. If it's not, is there a reason that we don't have a standardized system from SUNO to SUBR? And like I say, I'll leave Sussla and the law school out because I'm assuming those, because of the different accreditation issues, may be different. If they're not, I'd like to know to what degree they are similar to SUNO and SUBR, but I don't necessarily know if we need to have a presentation to say we do the same thing that SUBR did, and that's the thing that you just heard. Not to stop your presentation, you're doing great.
Attorney Shorty, if I can intercept, I would like to say that's why we're presenting today. Our intent is to see where we are now, and then in the future, what should be done about it. And I appreciate your comments. That's why we all are getting a slight report from each campus so that perhaps we can combine some of those things. We have discussed it. As a matter of fact, as I was collecting the information, I had one or two board members to say, well, why shouldn't we have some of these things generic? And I think that's what you're saying. And so today we're listening to each one of the campuses, and then we're going to see what they can do about it. And the faculty would have direct input with it. Thank you.
So as it stands, these things are not generic throughout the system. There are different standards for each.
I'm thinking, and Dr. Belton, you can correct me, but I think that at this point, each campus is more or less given their tenure and promotion process. And then the faculties will get together and along with the board members, give a discussion and ask or answer questions and have input. And then they will come up with if it'll be best that each campus have their own, or if it is generic and eventually put together some of them. Dr. Belton, did you have a comment?
Yes. In keeping with the discussion, I think we could agree that generally the process is generally common across institutions. How we evaluate different aspects of the evaluation of faculty are different, based on the mission of the institutions. And I think the idea today was just to qualify that by way of the presentations, maybe defining what may be those minute differences as relates to the campuses.
Mr. President,
Chair.
I would also.
Excuse me. I think I saw the chair focusing your chair. All right, Dr. Ammons.
Yes, I would also add to that the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools accredits institutions and not systems. Therefore, each institution has to have a process that has been developed through broad-based participation of the faculty. Now, we may all end up with the same steps as you have seen during these last two presentations, but it is important for our accreditation that those processes emanate from the faculty on the respective campuses. As a matter of fact, I think if you take a look nationally at tenure and promotion processes, the Southern University and A&M College system is very much representative of what we see nationally in terms of these processes.
Dr. Torva? Okay. Any other questions or comment, board? If not, thank you, Dr. Ammons.
Thank you.
And now we will have Chancellor Pierre from Southern University Law Center.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mrs. Smith, Chair of the Academic Affairs Committee, and honorable members of the board. I think ours is coming up. So just to kind of start the point off, our process at the Southern University Law Center is not as elaborate as the Baton Rouge campus or the New Orleans campus, because obviously we don't have the same structure. But essentially, the faculty appointment, retention, and promotion committee, there's a committee, we call it the FARC committee, Faculty Appointment, Retention, Promotion, and Tenure Committee, is engaged under our structure, governance structure, to carry out the functions of reviewing faculty for promotion, reviewing faculty for tenure and retention, and even having a say in the appointment of tenure track faculty. You can move the slide up, please. So there you see the steps for granting tenure. And essentially, what happens is once that committee goes to that process where they have subcommittees evaluate professors, they make a recommendation to the chancellor, and then I submit that recommendation to the president, and then of course it's forwarded to the board of supervisors, and the board of supervisors votes on those recommendations. Next slide, please. There also is an annual retention review for those individuals who have not yet been tenured. So they should know, in other words, anybody going to the tenure process who are tenure track should know where they stand, because they get an annual retention review, again, by the same committee that's ultimately going to determine whether they recommend that faculty member for tenure. Next slide, please. And then there is a tenure timeline for assistant professor, which basically we look at in terms of for tenure, their 6 year of service, and we have a deadline of October 15th where they submit their materials, which is that big portfolio of materials. It includes service to the community, actual, I guess what you would call research and publications, teaching evaluations, advice and counseling to students. So it's all put together in large binders so that that is available to the committee. The committee responds and replies to any questions made in this process. Again, forwards that retention recommendation to the chancellor. And if there are issues, then of course that is something we discuss with that individual faculty member. Next slide, please. And then we have a tenure timeline for associate or full professor. So if someone comes in the rank of associate professor or full professor, it's a shorter, instead of the 6 year process, it's a 4 year process. And again, there's going to be classroom visits, review of student evaluations, course syllabi, all those things that are going to be in that portfolio for that professor, and then the votes of the committee. Next slide, please. And then there's a standard that we have for probationary period and service credit, and that is actually from the board's systems rules, that if you have gotten credit and served at another institution or in a different rank, you can ask for service credit. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're eligible or you will be granted tenure, but you'll be given service so that you can apply, I guess what you would call earlier than the 6 year or the 4 year period that we have in the standard process. And this is extremely important. I want to make a point about this. As we look at competition for faculty across the country, we are seeing that we are getting individuals who are coming into at least the Law Center and the Academy with prior experience. And so they're not going to be necessarily treated as someone who has first come into the academic world at the rank of assistant professor. And that's a cultural discussion we have had. If you've noticed in the more recent requests for appointments for tenure track, I have asked that someone be appointed at the rank of associate professor or full professor, because we're seeing more what we call lateral moves. We're seeing much more of that than we did, say, 20 or 25 years ago. So that sometimes can create some consternation for some people who had to go through the full assistant professor all the way up. And what's happening from a competition standpoint, you really want your professors or your faculty members to have the rank of associate professor or full professor as much as possible, given if they meet the criteria. Why? Because when they are applying for awards, when they're applying for placement in certain journals, academic journals, for whatever reason, the rank of associate professor carries a little bit more weight, or the rank of full professor carries a little bit more weight in their acknowledgement. So that's a cultural discussion. And at some schools, they have essentially at law schools, there's no such thing as an assistant professor. Everybody starts as an associate professor. But we haven't done that, and for good reason, but when it's appropriate, we do that, associate or full professor. Next slide. And then, of course, we talk about the process of the chancellor's role, because I have a role in that. If I agree with the tenure committee's recommendation, I submit a recommendation. What we do have in some cases is the committee will say, well, we don't think this person meets the standard. So they will essentially, we have an internal reconsideration or review, or even I would call it an appeal process. And if that's the case, I will note that in my forwarding that to the president and for the board to review. Luckily, we have not had many of those in the time that I have seen. So basically, ultimately, the board determines whether tenure is granted. And that's the position we take. We make the recommendations, we provide good reasoning for our recommendation, but ultimately the power lies with the board. And that concludes basically my presentation. If you have any questions, be glad to answer them.
Madam Chair. Just one observation, and at my point in life for Chancellor Pierre, I sometimes kind of doze off in these presentations, but for point of clarification, I thought I heard you say you have a provision for student evaluations?
Yes, students do evaluations of faculty every year. And as part of because we want to, it's sort of the evaluation of teaching. In other words, students kind of give us a barometer. It's not the total.
I understand.
Point, but yes.
But they participate in the process.
Absolutely.
I'll just simply respond by saying, what a novel idea. And I'm making a vain attempt at sarcasm. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. So yeah, that's and the ABA particularly likes to see how students feel about the teaching.
Better people to ask.
Thank you, Chancellor Pierre. Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we will have Southern University of Shreveport with Dr. Ellis or his designee.
Yeah. Good morning. I've asked my Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, Dr. Terry Kidd, and our Faculty Senate President, Mr. Fred Moss, to lead this presentation. However, before they begin, I would like to say that promotion and tenure in a two-year community college system is not common. However, because we are part of this university system, and promotion and tenure does occur in some institutions within the community college world, we do promote it and have a system that will be presented by Dr. Kidd.
Thank you, Chancellor Ellis. Good morning, Madam Board Chair, Chairman of the board, members of the board, Dr. Belton, my colleagues. I'm here to present our promotion and tenure policy at Southern University at Shreveport. Next slide, please. As you can see, there are three organizations that are represented on this slide. These three organizations provide guidance in terms of the development and implementation of tenure and promotion. So the specific tenure and promotion policies at Sussla are guided by these three organizations. And there's a link to our faculty handbook where the promotion and tenure policies are outlined in depth. So the purpose of tenure and promotion at Sussla is to provide eligible teaching faculty with academic rank as an acknowledgement of exceptional teaching and service. And so it goes back to the moniker of quality teaching and active student engagement. And those are the points by which our faculty are evaluated. And in that process, we take into account faculty evaluations as well as student evaluations. Please be advised that this is a merit-based process. Next slide, please. The tenure and promotion policy applies to full-time faculty, department heads, and academic officers. It does not provide a provision for those who are on limited appointments or contracts or adjunct faculty. I'd also like to make mention that tenure and promotion are two separate activities and two separate policies, but they can be done simultaneously. The faculty can elect to either apply for promotion and or tenure or both. Next slide, please. To be eligible for tenure and promotion at Sussla, one must have completed at least 3 years within the current rank. Promotion begins on the 4th year when the application is submitted based on an October 1st deadline. In much respect to much of my other additional colleagues, we follow the same timeline, beginning with the review for October the 15th, ending with the 6-month review process with a recommendation and ratification through the board for a April 15th notification to faculty. Next slide, please. As you can see from this slide here are the minimum qualifications and preparation for promotion. And here it lists the degree requirements, how long they must be in their current rank, and additional criteria. Next slide, please. Again, tenure and promotion is based on a point system, and the person must earn a minimum of the required points to advance from one level to the next. At Sussla, our rankings begin with the rank of instructor. And in order to move from instructor to assistant, they must gain 74 points. From assistant to associate, they must gain 84 points. And from associate to full professor, a minimum of 94 points is required. Next slide, please. There are 6 performance categories in which the faculty is judged and evaluated. The 6 categories are before you. Number 1 is teaching excellence. Within the teaching excellence, student evaluations and faculty teaching evaluations are included. Items 2 include research, scholarly activity, and any other types of publications that support their discipline and advance the knowledge and work of the discipline. Items number 3 include professional development, training, so forth. Item number 4, professional and community activities. Item number 5, university service, and item number 6, which is advisement and student mentorship. Next slide, please. Here are the point distribution and allocations for each. The bulk of the evaluation and points are geared toward quality teaching or teaching excellence, followed by research, professional development, community service, university service, and advisement. This slide is a little bit small, but it follows a 12-step process that begins with the applicant making an application October 1st. That application within 10 days is submitted to the Departmental Rank and Tenure Committee, which undergoes review. Once they have made a recommendation, it goes to the department chair for a review. Once the department chair has made a review, it matriculates up through to the office of the vice chancellor, who does not make a decision on whether a person is tenured or not or promoted. They just see that the process is followed. If the process is followed, the recommendations of the faculty and the university-wide rank and tenure committee carries to the chancellor's office, who then supports and submits the recommendation to the systems president and then subsequently to the board. Once the board has made their decision for accepting and or ratifying the recommendation for tenure and or promotion by March the 30th, by April 15th, the faculty is notified in writing the results of that acceptance. These are the 7 items that are required for applicants for promotion, evaluations, publications, documentation of honors and recognition, the application form, current CV, and teaching philosophy. Next slide, please. There you have it. Any questions?
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. And do we have any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I have a statement.
Okay.
After listening to each and every one of the chancellors' promotion, excuse me, promotion and tenure, I guess, protocol or policies, I just want to say in the student endeavor, one, I appreciate Chancellor Pierre's in regards to the output that he does. As an alum of the Law Center, I've done several candid surveys on professors, and I think that that shows totality. One of the things I would like to see, and I've said it before, is that when we look at higher ed, we stop and only look at accolades in terms of how we see professors or instructors in terms of if the professor has a terminal degree. But you know, with the teaching background as myself, what's baffling to me is that we move from the pedagogies of education to higher ed, and there's none in there. And what I'm seeing now is that, from what I've heard from my colleagues and what's going on, is that there's a disconnect in communication in terms of faculty development. And we really need to take a hold of that and address that issue, and also look at the pedagogies of learning, because again, those are the teaching aspects of how effective you are as a professor. You know, it's great to have accolades, research, and make tenure, but if you cannot disseminate that knowledge to the student, what good are you for the institution, right? And what we shouldn't do is we shouldn't set faculty up for failure. We shouldn't set the faculty up for failure in terms of having protocol. I mean, when I was still am in the Navy, I have to do my fitness reports, and I meet with my senior enlisted, and we go over what I need to do to get promoted every year. And it's up to me to take care of that. And if I don't do that, then it still shows the ownership on there. And so I think that the institution knows it's a two-way street. You know, I think that one, you know, everyone wants to get tenure. Everybody chases to get tenure. And I think one of the things we have to understand is that after you get tenured, what happens? You know, the work doesn't stop then. You know, you do all the bells and whistles to get tenured, but then you stop. And we're true like academician. This is an academician's institution. And so we have to continuous be able to progress and evolve with education as education evolves. And I think the last thing I will say is that we definitely look at faculty post-tenure review, but not make it in terms of a negative connotation on the faculty. But again, giving them incentives to do better, to do research, to go out there and grab grants for the institution. We need to do those things. And I think, you know, listening to all these presentations, we can take, Madam Chair, you can take back with the academic committee and have something standardized that we can bring towards the table that everyone can benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, and thank you for the presentation. At this point, if I have no other questions or comments from the board, I would like to say the goal is to address student success through academic promotion and tenure. Now, you've heard where we are now. You know where we are now with promotion and tenure and promotion. You've heard the process from each of the campuses. That now we can go back and write down or jot down our thoughts as far as missing parts with the promotion and tenure process. And finally, once we do that and ask or get or become satisfied with the questions and procedures with our deans and our president, then we will come back and we will make a final decision as to where we're going to be or where we want to be. That will include the faculty, everybody that's involved, and where we want to be, so that when we meet again, or when we're ready to meet and discuss tenure and promotion again, then we will see some accountability for the tenure and promotion process. Do I have any other comments?
Madam
Chair.
Madam
Let me
Chair,
get Dr. Davis and then I'll have you.
not on tenure and promotion. Just want to commend the chancellors and their representatives for their presentation. I know it takes time and work to put this together. So you all did a great job, and Madam Chair, you're doing a good job as well. Mr. Chairman, you're doing a good job too. And Dr. Belton, you're doing a great job. Am I talking in this mic? But Madam Chair, I noticed one thing on your agenda. You did not have other business. So if we could just, if I could just speak on other business for about 30 seconds. Dr. Sahu. Dr. Sahu, I'm sort of in your arena for today. Be somebody else's time. We had something called Maymester. Are you familiar with that?
I became familiar with the Maymester about 2-3 weeks ago.
All right, then I won't blame you for it, but when I was here as a faculty member and administrator, we had a Maymester. And like other things, the Maymester has disappeared from the Southern University arena. I would like to see the Maymester restored.
Yes, sir.
Because it offers a lot of opportunities for our students, particularly in the time of pandemic. Students were not able to come to class because of illness or because of exposure or whatever. And some of them got behind. Some of them may have failed courses. Rather than have them wait until the fall semester, the next spring semester, the university created Maymester as a catch-all so that they could put courses in for those students who may have missed a course, was trying to graduate in August or December. So I'd like to see you explore Maymester and see what needs to be done to re-implement Maymester. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Are you saying that you would like to make that a part of the student success process?
Yes, it is. It's a part of the academic calendar. It was a part of the academic calendar, and the chairs and the deans and the faculty decided what courses the student need. Let's say you had a course in analytic chemistry. Is there such a course? Or astrophysics. And you had 25 students and you failed 20 of them. And you had in that 20, you had 10 that was going to graduate in August or December. Now they probably did half of the course. So now you reinstitute the course in a Maymester. And you pass those 10 students. Now, in K-12 education, y'all have a process to catch those students. I know because we just had graduation for Baker High School, and they had about 5 students that didn't quite make it over. So there was a process you have in K-12 where the students can catch up in a short period of time. So that was a creativity of Southern University Academic Affairs at one time that worked very well, in my opinion. So I just like to see and explore the reinstitution of the Maymester.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. And now we will
Madam
move.
Chair.
Oh,
Madam Chair,
yes.
if you would, I would just like to beg your tolerance. I believe the president of the Faculty Senate from Shreveport campus made the long trek down here to simply voice his support of the policy there on the Shreveport campus. He's generally a man of very few words. I beg your tolerance in letting him make just a quick statement, ma'am.
Sure, I will.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum. I would like just to say it's an honor to be here. I'm the newly elected Faculty Senate President. Been an employee at Southern University for 25 years. I bleed blue and gold. I graduated from here from Southern University in '92. Got my master's in '94. To represent the faculty in this capacity is a great thing. At the Southern University campus in Shreveport, we're working closely together to make sure these policies are going to work for everybody. and my faculty. And I can't do this by myself. My faculty staff, I know they're watching. We're a great team, and we're just trying to do some things great in Shreveport. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Whitfield?
Just a very quick comment and to piggyback on what Dr. Davis was saying, that I think not only May semester, but probably the winter session as well would be very helpful.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you. If no other comments, now we're going to move to item B.
Madam Chair, just one last closing comment.
Go ahead.
And I'll make it very brief, because I think I'm the person who kind of opened this concept up.
You did.
At this previous board meeting. And of course, my question and concern at that point was, I thought very narrowly focused, as we say in the business. And it was basically just centered around the idea of making sure that there was going to be support from the people in the ranks, a peer review. But I think there's been some benefit to what has happened here today. That concept has been expanded thanks to the president, yourself, by allowing these various campuses to present their policies. And I want to say to them, all of you, Dr. Sahu, and the rest of the chancellors, thanks so very much for being so diligent to the concern that this humble servant raised last month. Because as we say in the business, PT is the basis of the academic process. We want to do everything we can to attract, retain, and then reward meritorious service. We want the best and the brightest. And the way to do that is by clarifying this process. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks again, and thanks for bringing it up, because it was an item that was needing to be discussed. And I would like to thank each of the board members who had concern and gave input, including the president and the chair, along with the vice chair of the Academic Affairs Committee, Dr. Torva. Each of you, thank you a lot. Now we're going to move to item B. Mr. Gravett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I am a recent Southern Law Center grad, and I love the system, and I've had a great time here so far. But what I believe in is Southern University system truly. And so for that, I've done some digging with speaking with chancellors, professors, and faculty members, as well as students, and trying to highlight some of the students' needs and what they require and what they would like to see from the system. And so I will go ahead and be very brief, because I know we have a lot on the agenda for today. So if we can go ahead into the first slide, please. So the idea of a medicinal plant / cannabis curriculum, it's already established here at the Law Center, as well as talking to Dr. Snowden. She's doing something great things with agriculture and business with Associate Vice Chancellor Marla Dickerson. One of the things it is that, cannabis is now legalized medicinally in Louisiana. And the governor recently just said on Wednesday, even though the bill got struck down, that recreational should be pretty much in several years from it. So it's not a question of when, how, it's when. And what we have to do now is be the pioneer. The great state of Louisiana gave us a great tool, in my opinion, was that they gave both LSU and Southern rights to grow marijuana, and we're doing very well on the product side. One of the things that I want to see, though, is that we incorporate that in the curriculum. These are what students have asked for, doing research, and these are things that and what we want to do is we want to get programs in terms of getting programs that are going to get students in and also get students jobs. And again, this is a $1 trillion industry. And so what I would like to see is expansion on the agriculture and the business side, as well as the law that's already established, but to incorporate engineering and the biological sciences and nursing, and as well as the public policy program, right? Because this is an interdisciplinary study in an industry that's going to affect thousands and thousands of jobs. And so we have a decision to make. We can be a pioneer and get on. One of the things we've been talking about was our online curriculum, where we struggle with our online curriculum is that we're 20 years behind. And so here's an avenue that we can bring in
and fostering enrollment, fostering and bolstering our online portal as well. Next slide. And so these are some of the requests that I've had. I did a survey with all of the presidents at the systems, and these are some of the programs that students would like to see. Kinesiology program, a JD, PhD, public policy. I don't know why they want to get that, huh, Chancellor? Sports management, medicinal and cannabis programs, and also medical programs. Medical school, a veterinarian school, dental school, physician assistant school, and pharmacy. And I said that things is that one of the things that makes Southern different from any other HBCU is that we're a system. And so our imprint can be throughout this whole state. And so if we have visionaries to do such, then we can make it go through in a better aspect. Next slide, please. So of course we want to talk about funding, right? How do we get to where we need? Because if we can't get dollars, it doesn't make sense. And so one of the funds that we can tap into is the tobacco fund. One of the reasons why the tobacco fund has had a $4.4 billion settlement with all the states, and as long as they inquire selling cigarettes in these states, and last time I checked, they didn't stop selling cigarettes, so that we get proceeds that we can get money and garnish the things that we need. And so we have a lot of alums that sit on at session right now, so that we can garner and foster those issues. And another thing is the Board of Regents has a support fund, which came out of the large settlement of, I believe, I think they call it the 8-6 fund, where in 1986, 1986, when the oil, they had a big settlement and then they had an endowment for that. And so part of that funding is incorporating into building up the school in terms of what could help with our our technology, and as well as expansion. And so we can apply for those, as well as philanthropy donors. And so those are some of the things, the ways of getting the funds there. And I would like to move to the next slide. All right. So Jonathan Swift said, vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others, right? And on there, I said, can you see the bear? And probably most of you guys are not going to be able to see it, but it's right there, right? But that's vision. So with vision, where I believe SUS can go as a system, if you allow me to take you there, would be the next slide. Why can't we have a medical school here in Baton Rouge in 2025? Why can't we have a veterinarian school in 2028? An osteopathic medical school in 2028 in Lake Charles? A dental school here in Baton Rouge? An optometry school in Monroe? Again, a system that reaches out. And these are areas that, one, helps the cause of our state because we're so down in health, and as well as helping students with the opportunity to help and garnish their families well. And so I move to the last slide of innovation, right? This is my vision of what I see Southern, taking over the whole entire state, branching out to campuses severalwhere and reaching out through innovation. Again, with those curriculums that I asked or to recommend. One of the things I would like to thank is the ongoing mentorship that I've received since I was on the board. And I will have to thank Dr. Belton for making himself very, very open, giving me wisdom and guidance and mentoring me, and showing me his experience, as well as Chairman Rutledge, Vice Chairman Shorty, and some of my other board members. You guys made me feel like I was not just a student, but an actual colleague. And that mentorship helped me in ways that you will never understand. But more importantly, I would like to still give homage to all the chancellors that made themselves available for me too, that I had several conversations with Dr. Ammons, Dr. Ellis, Dr. Mamines, and Chancellor Pierre, as well as Dr. Sahu and Dr. Penny. So I would like to thank you guys for all those mentorships that you have given me throughout the times. But I really think that we really need to look into terms of looking at creating a marijuana curriculum. I believe that it could be a value to the program and to the institution as a whole. I think it will bring several enrollment aspects. One of my visions now, we're roughly about 15,000 students as a system. Within acquiring and putting appropriations of funds, I can easily see that double within the next 2 to 3 years, if led and with vision, with a plan. And I'm fully willing to talk with Madam Chair about the curriculums that I've already started establishing writing on, as well as bringing in Dr. Snowden and AVC Dickerson to showing you guys that something so that you can prove something for next month. But again, it's been a great ride for me. This is my 15 minutes of fame. Although my mom always said all good things come to an end. I thank you guys for allowing me to serve with you guys. I'm glad you guys for listening to me as a colleague. And I guess you guys for allowing me to support my fellow colleagues and students at this year. It's been a pleasure to serve with you. My name is Bakari Garvey. God bless you, and God bless Southern University systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garvey, and we wish you the best. And now we will ask for an adjournment. Motion? There's been
Madam
moved
Chair.
and second. Academic Affairs adjourned.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith will now go to Mr. Bartholomew and the Athletics Committee.
Testing. Call the Athletic Committee to order. Mr. Chair, Mr. Secretary, would you call the?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bartholomew, Dr. Whitfield, Attorney Armady, Mr. Lawson, Attorney Shorty, Mrs. Smith, Attorney Rutledge. You have a quorum, sir.
I don't know why I didn't keep cutting off. Anyway, it's absent. Are there any objections to the minutes being subjected? Hearing none, so being adopted. I'd like to, are there any public comments? Are there any public comments? Hearing none. Item action A and B. Do I hear a motion to put A and B in global?
So moved.
So moved. Second? Are there any objections? A and B taking global. Hearing none, it's done. Next item is 6, information item. At this point in time, it's an honor for me to represent ask the athletic director come forward to represent our new interim coach, football coach, and his staff at this time.
Good morning. Chair of the Athletic Committee, Chair Rutledge, Attorney Rutledge, President, board members. Obviously, it's a good day today. We all standing, reasonable, health and strength, sound mind. It's always good to be here united. And I said that to say that I want to make sure I clear the air with Dr. Sahu. And I'm a man to be very transparent about what I do. Probably about a week or two ago, Dr. Scott and I went in his office, was talking to him about Maymester and winter session. And I just want you to know that I didn't have anything to do with this conversation today. They brought it up totally on their own. So I just want you to know we good. All right. And obviously, I'm in the back standing with Dr. Scott, who is the deputy AD and kind of oversees our compliance area. And I'm with the football coaches, and they gaining up on me like, when you gonna have another meeting with Dr. Sahu, because we'll never get a kid in Ellsworth. We had Maymester winter session, and so I'm an advocate of it all, trying to get it all. So I like to engage in that conversation with you because I think Dr. Whitfield said it earlier, is that When I was assistant basketball coach here back in '96, Maymester was huge to our student athletes, and we was able to matriculate them and graduate them at a great rate because we had a chance to have Maymester. And if you add winter session to it, is definitely a winning recipe, because as we look over the blueprint of what other universities are doing to keep their student athletes eligible in their students, they are benefiting from Maymester and winter session. I'm not an academician, so let me get out that area. So let me do the rest what I have to do real quickly. But I had to advocate for the football coaches because they was on my back there. So I want to also thank the board for your support of the process of hiring a football coach for this fall 21 season. Obviously, whenever you hire a football coach, and it's always a difficult time when you have the time. The normal process is somewhere between November and January. And we were looking to hire a coach with 120 days ahead of us starting practice time. So that was a challenge within itself. And so all your emails and all the wisdom and conversations that I had with you all as leadership and mentoring me, it really meant a lot to navigate through this process and show confidence in the athletic department and athletic administration to make this decision. So I want you all to know that I'm grateful and very appreciative. Also to Dr. Belton and our late conversations navigating through this process. Thank you, sir, for having confidence in myself and in my team to help make this decision. And I was able to touch base with a lot of you all. And I just want you to know that I appreciate it from the bottom to the top of my heart. And so Attorney Rutledge summoned our football coach to go 13-0 yesterday. So he's already putting heat on him in front of everybody. He said, man, they after me already. I said, you ain't seen nothing yet. So you might as well get ready. But in this process, we're able to look within. And I truly believe that you make decisions for particular times in that situation. And the first thing came to our mind were our student athletes. And to give our student athletes a chance to ultimately have success this season, because we do feel like that we have a continuity of student athletes coming back that can lend us some success on the football field, was to find that common denominator. And as we search and as we talked and as we explored a lot of different candidates, it was paramount that we just kept coming back to this particular person. And as we perused his resume, we found out that he was at Northwestern. They beat us. We found out he was at McNeese when he was there. They beat us. We found out he was at Tulane. They beat us. Find out he was at UTSA, and they beat us. And so it came paramount to say, if you was beating us with all those places, then you need to come here and make sure that we beating everybody else. And so with that being said, I do think that we have a guy that's consistent with our values, that's winning on and off the field. As you know, that our programs have been fortunate and lucky that we haven't been in any scandals, and we stay out the news to the best of our abilities, and all our coaches have done that. And he's definitely had a character that I think to keep our program clean and also to win on the football field and to make our student athletes and our students and our alumni proud to wear Southern University across their chest. So with that being said, the person that's going to guide us through this season, this fall season, he actually get a chance to participate in 2 Bayou Classics in 1 year. I have never seen that. Hopefully not to see it again either. But the person that's going to lead us this year that I think is very capable from humble beginnings, I'd like to introduce to y'all, and we all greet him as he come in with a Jaguar welcome, Coach Jason Rollins.
All right, first of all, I'd like to thank, Board Chair, Attorney Rutledge, our President, Dr. Belton, and our Athletic Director, A.D. Banks, for blessing me with the opportunity. I'm very thankful for that opportunity. But let me give you a little short story. About 20 years ago, I was at the parking lot at a hotel at the convention in San Antonio, the National Coaches Convention. And this tall, slender guy walked out of the hotel, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Coach Richardson. And I was with a few other coaching colleagues, and I walked over to him. I said, "Hey, coach, man, how can I get to where you are one day?" And he looked around. He said, "Well, son, just keep working hard and keep following the process and working hard." And lo and behold, after 23 more years and following the process and working hard, and my dreams were true. I followed in his footsteps, and I'm here. So I'm very thankful for that opportunity. And we know the expectations, and we have a strong staff, strong team. Our defensive coordinator, Lionel Washington. Our offensive coordinator, Zachary Grossi. Our pass game, run game, in my left hand and right hand, Mr. Charlie Aero. So, we have a very strong team on the staff, a very strong team on the field. We know the expectations, and we're going to work hard to make sure we live up to them. So with that being said, thank you, and go Jags.
With that being said, I also like to recognize the person that actually coordinated our whole process of interviewing the coaches and taking us through this football search. Worked very hard, kind of starting to hang like me in the back, but Dr. Traven Scott, will y'all give him a hand as well? Thank you. I will also ask that you all continue to support our baseball team who made it to the quarterfinals. They lost, and we happen to playing at 12 o'clock today to see can we advance. So we ask for your support for those young men as well. They're doing a great job. Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say to our head football coach and to those assistants there, Al Davis, the late Al Davis, had a very famous phrase, and I want to leave it with you. All that you said is fine, but just win, baby. All right? Thank you. Good luck.
We have any comments from the board members? Any additional comments, questions?
Quick question.
Go ahead.
Now, Mr. Chair, can we delay this vote until about 2 hours after the Bayou Classic this year?
No, it's too late.
So we need to, it's late.
And I hear a motion to adjourn. So movie has been adjourned. The meeting has been adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew, for demonstrating how to run an efficient committee today. We'll go now to Dr. Whitfield in our Facilities and Property Committee.
Gotcha. Good morning again, everyone. I'd like to call the Friday, May 21st Facilities and Properties Committee meeting to order. President Belton, can I get a roll call?
Yes, sir. Dr. Whitfield?
Present.
Ms. Williams? Mr. Bartholomew?
He's here.
Mr. Hilliard? Mr. Lawson? Dr. Tarver? Attorney Rutledge? You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, President Belton. If I may move to add an agenda item, it's going to be the special presentations.
Yeah.
We did not have that earlier. We have our special presentation we want to do. Good morning,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion in that you're chairing the meeting. You can't. So I would like to move in the adoption of the agenda today that we add the above and beyond award presentation to this agenda. We've got a lot of people here who work in the department where the person is going to be. And so we want to let them get going.
Perfect. Do we have a, well, you've made the motion. Do we have anyone?
I second it.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. And
no, any opposed? None opposed. So we will be adding that agenda item. So let's do that now, President.
I believe, yes, sir. I believe Mr. Pitts from our facilities department on the Baton Rouge campus will facilitate the presentation.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm going to bring up Mr. Wade. We have had the pleasure of having Mr. Rivetti on our team for quite some time, and everybody in this room has gotten a call and said, can you send Mr. Rivetti because I locked my keys out my, but he has been our guy for everything, and he is retiring. And so I want to give a very big thank you, but I'm gonna let Mr. Wade, who was our maintenance director, really bring him up.
Good morning. It's a pleasure today to honor Mr. Rivetti with the Above and Beyond Award. When I think above and beyond in 26 years, it takes a certain individual. You know, that's a different type of volume of a person. And Mr. Rivetti has given dedication. He's been loyal to the process. And the thing I love the most, he's embraced the culture in physical plant. He's embraced the culture and our mission. And so I simply thought that after 26 years, what motivated you to continue to do the things above and beyond? And Mr. Rivetti just stated he loves Southern. He loves Southern, and he understands that there's change, and he wants to move the university forward, and he would do that by any means necessary. So on today, Rivetti, I think it's only right that we thank you, and that we honor you on behalf of the Board of Supervisors and all stakeholders here at Southern University, the Above and Beyond Award. Thank you.
Oh, I'm just grateful that a lot of people don't know that I practically was raised on this campus out there at the stadium track. I started running track when I was 6 years old. So I always been part of the system. And now, about to retire, even realize more just how much Southern been a part of my life. And working with good faculty and staff, always welcoming when I come to do a job, encourage me with a smile. We just have to realize that Southern University have a great staff. I don't think it's one time that I don't went in the office that someone didn't greet me with a smile. And if this was a couple minutes, say something nice conversation, smile. And it's just, I'm always remember the faculty and staff that always been a blessing to me when I go out and do a job to better the campus. And I thank my coworkers. They always been there for me. We laugh and talk. It's one thing that we do in the morning, our morning meetings. And it's pretty much that's motivate me and make me realize that's how much I'm blessed. We always in our meeting with someone say something that's gonna brighten your day. And at the end of that, when they do, everybody's smiling. Now we're ready to get to work. And it's make you realize a whole lot about yourself. It's just wonderful. And I thank Southern University for being a part of my life, 26 years, well, it's really more than that. But thank you, faculty and staff. So.
Mr. Rivetti, we'd like for you to join us. And if you'd like the colleagues who are here with you for us, a brief photograph, your coworkers who are here can join the photograph as well. Dr. Whitfield.
Come on. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment while you're gathering to do that, if you don't mind. Mr. Rivetti, you know we're going to miss you, man. And you know what we were talking about. Mr. Rivetti has held many different jobs at this school. He talked about all those years, but he didn't tell you about all those different jobs. Everybody was calling on him for a little of everything because he was a jack of all trades, and he never failed to come when you called. He always came with a smile, and he was also expert at everything that he did. We're going to miss you. So if you get lonely and you want to be able to come back and volunteer and help, come over to the museum. We need you desperately over there, and all would appreciate that. So we're looking forward to that opportunity, and congratulations once again, and thank you for everything that you've done for us over the years. All right. Mr. Rivetti? Mr. Rivetti?
Yeah.
President Rutledge, as everybody moves, we're gonna get back to the agenda. If everybody can get back to their seats, we're going to move to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? So moved. Any second? I think I heard a second, but we'll move on with the agenda. Item 4 on the agenda, any public comments as it pertains to the Facilities and Property Committee? Any public comments? Hearing none, we will move to item 5, action item 5. A request approval of a small capital outlay project. These documents are in your packet. We should have all reviewed them before. Are there any questions as regards to action item A, request approval of small capital outlay project? Offer. We have the motion to approve and it has been seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, it is approved. Next item on agenda item 6, information items, facilities planning project updates. We have the interim director, Maurice Pitts, here to give us some information.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, before we start, can I actually just give a real big thank you to the board chair, the president, and the entire board for last night. They hosted our group and said some very kind words. And as you can tell by our participation here, we really appreciate that. And we really need to hear that sometimes. And I have to warn board member Tarver, I think the chairman is gunning for your #1 spot. Tarver is our guy. He's hosted us at the museum and we've never forgotten that.
I bow down.
But I believe they're gunning for your #1 spot. Thank you so much for last night on behalf of my group. The packet with the project updates, I just want to talk about 3 things not on the slides that I am looking into. One, on the Sussla campus, there's a gymnasium that there's a $400,000 allocation for a new roof. A study was done, a consultant was brought in to really go through the gymnasium, and that study came back saying that construction should cost around $4 million. That's how many things are at issue with that gymnasium. And I'm looking into that. Me and Chairman Whitfield talked about maybe the answer may be demoing that gym and putting out a capital outlay request to build a new gym on the Shreveport campus. So that's one thing. Number two deals with, 2 and 3 deals with the Baton Rouge campus. We are ready to go at Fisher Hall. Fisher Hall is ready. The money is there. They're waiting on us. FPNC is waiting on us, but we have occupants in Fisher Hall, and A.O. Williams won't be finished. There's a correction in the board packet. I said till December, and now that date is September. And so following the September date, we're gonna finish A.O. Williams, relocate them back into A.O. Williams so we can begin the Fisher Hall renovation. So I have a few minutes just to kind of bring you up to date on what we're planning for the Baton Rouge campus. It's long, so I'm gonna try to keep it short. I'm only gonna bring you from Hardin Boulevard and Scenic Highway through the checkpoint to the river. We have many other projects on the campus, but this is all the time I have to go through for right now. And this is what's in the board packet for the small caps project. It's a formality. We have to let FPNC know and the Board of Regents know that we're doing a project somewhere around $1 million. Even though we are managing it, we have to have board approval to give to the Board of Regents so they can approve us. But this is the SU Gateway project. It starts, if you can see the arrows to the right, it starts at the bottom of the hump, Scenic Highway and Hardin. Right now, we're having to go through just some issues with DOTD and the city because we don't own the utilities. Go to the next slide. We don't own the utilities where, oh, yeah, there you go, on both sides of that road, and we have to have those relocated before we start that project. But that project is the one that we're seeking approval for. This will be the entrance to Southern University starting at the bottom of the hump. Next slide. This is very important to me because Southern University does not drain well. And so we have embarked on a project on the perimeter road at the mini dome. And if you can see the blue arrows, we will grade and put in catch basins to catch the water and drain it away from the road. Right now, that practice field gate, it's absolutely beautiful, but it blocks the water when it drains off of the mini dome parking lot. And then the water sits on that perimeter road and we're full of potholes. So I'm finally able to fix it and address it correctly. Next slide. Oh, sure.
Now, when you resolve that, that'll also enable you to resolve the potholes that are around the driveway of the activity center? Was that what you were referencing?
Yes, sir. Okay, so the perimeter road around the entire activity center, those potholes will be addressed once we fix the drainage. Now, if you're talking about in the actual parking lot of the mini dome, those drains are already there. They've just never been cleaned out. And that's a part of this project as well.
I was just concerned about the perimeter. That, especially around like over by between the baseball, that area. And a lot of times, people come on campus for, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but people come on campus for activities, graduation, and they never get any further than that. And they leave with that impression that, sometimes you need a large pickup truck to get through there. So
no, absolutely. And listen, just for a point of reference, that water drains back towards the railroad tracks. And I've gotten a call from Coach Banks actually contemplating canceling a baseball game because the water was pooling in the outfield. And so we are addressing that specifically. And this project will do that. This is the gateway or the entrance at the checkpoint. You see some of that work has already began. The brick pavers are there. We're not doing crepe myrtles, we're doing Japanese yews, just to the right and left of the brick pavers, just to create a wall. Obviously it's plants and flowers, but we're trying to create a wall so you'll know that you're entering onto the campus once you pass that checkpoint. The signs will be here. The sign that's right on that parapet wall in the front, that'll be here on June 24th. So we're trying to have the Gateway Improvement Project
near completion when the signs get here so we can light it up correctly.
And speaking of signs, I complimented Dr. Belton. I want to compliment publicly whomever was responsible for the signage now that identifies every building. I like the consistency of that. The color scheme, I thought that was very well done.
It's the consistency, yes, sir. Now, this, if you can see right past the tennis courts, there's a parking lot that brings you into Seymour Gym. To the north of that is a building called Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens is on the demolition list, but what's so important about this footprint is ever since I've worked here, I've wondered why this main campus didn't seem to function properly. You can come on the campus, you would have to drive through the campus to go get a hang tag or a map or some directions. And we are able to get some funding from Dr. Barbara Carpenter to actually in that same footprint, put up a building that will house the traffic department. It will house the business innovation group with Dr. Michael Stubblefield. Go to the next slide. That's it. It's going to be called the Global Innovation and Gateway Complex. So that's going to be real important to how this campus functions. When you come on, you could turn in that parking lot, go get a map, get some directions, get a hang tag, and turn right out of that parking lot and go through our checkpoint. Next slide. Past the checkpoint, you have Washington Hall and Bethune Hall. What has been contemplated in that footprint is a brand new honors dormitory, but I want you to just go a little more west and north, and the student union, the current student union, which we are in today, we're contemplating a brand new student life center in this footprint. Next slide. These are a few of the details that we turned in. 256 beds. Obviously, will go ahead and give us some more space for our honor students, and all of the vendor lease space. And even in the union, we're talking about having enough room to house a movie theater. Now, passing that dormitory footprint, heading on over to the bluff. If you've noticed, what used to be Lottie Anthony is no longer there. It's a green space. Now, why that's so important, if you come on around to the infirmary, that's on the demolition list as well, and I think demo has started. But I want you to think, coming from that union, there's a walking bridge, and from that union, also from that footprint where Washington and Bethune is, you will be able to see a straight line of sight to the Mississippi River. What a view that will be if you're walking on that side of the lake toward this side of the lake. Now, in the infirmary space, what we're contemplating is an outdoor amphitheater. This amphitheater will house about 154 seats, stadium seating there to your right, and with the stage as the focal point. Go to the next slide. And that's a section of how it would look. So obviously the stadium seating would go up, and you see the cover over the stage to the right. Now, the ravine. Now we're on the bluff. Now we're here. I want you to take note, because we're going to keep referring back to this slide. I have project 1, project 2, 3, and 4. All right, the ravine, the first one. You know, I listened to Mr. Rivetti. I've listened to so many stories of so many people that have been here for so long, and guys, we're losing the bluff. We came in, we put pergolas up, we've made it beautiful, we've made it clean out there, but go to the next slide. Look at, we're about to lose the trees. Look at where the high water mark is, and when that Mississippi River rises up and then goes back down, it pulls everything back with it. It has a lot to do with the type of soil that we have here, and also not only the rise and fall of the river, but the hydrology of the tugboats and the boats that pass through. So now I'm dealing with a up and down, a vertical, but I'm also dealing with water coming in and pulling everything back. Go to the next slide. We're referring to this one. Go to project 2, behind ROTC. behind over there back where the museum. Years ago, they drove sheet piles down to stabilize that area because we were losing those buildings. Well, look at what has happened. Look to the right. That slide is important because you can see that the concrete is buckling right now. So those sheet piles, those very sheet piles that saved us are starting to give way. Go to the next slide. Now we're referring to project number 3. This is backed by the dormitories at the Student Health Center. This building is so important to our student population, but look, we're losing the land right behind it. We're about to make our way close to the building. This is very important that we give some attention to this area. And those 3-foot deep surface cracks, that is a project that we did when we first got here. I thought I could bring in dirt and bring in everything and compact it right and put a little revetment down at the ravine site. But those, I think it was like $88,000 we got from FPNC. That wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. This has to be engineered, and this has to be done by someone that's familiar with ravine and revetment. Next slide. Now this, oh no, go back to the reference slide. This is the outfall that leads out to the Mississippi River. Every ravine, and obviously everyone understands the history of our ravine. We drain Scotlandville. We drain North Baton Rouge. It comes from Mills Avenue. It comes down through the bridge project that we're working on right now. It meanders behind the law school, and then it goes in that direction to an outfall in the Mississippi River. It has a certain path, a natural path that it takes. Go to the next slide. As you can see, that natural path is being degraded. Well, what this means, when you degrade the thalweg or that natural flow, well, when you knock that natural path down, it's going to create its own path and just overtake the natural path and go directly into the river. So we're losing land, and this needs to be addressed. Next slide. Okay, here's the proposal. Go to the next one. Everyone has seen the answer is right in downtown Baton Rouge. Everyone has seen the answer. And so we are proposing to come out, save our historic trees, obviously, come out, drive sheet piles, and then bring in dirt and sediment and compact that to the sheet piles, but then go down a level and create a shelf. And that shelf, I know I'm giving you a horrible picture, but that shelf would create a walking path and benches so people can come and sit out by the river. Right below that path, that's when we'll armor. We'll step down, we'll put concrete steps, stepping down into an entire concrete parapet wall. And below that, that's when we'll put the revetment, all of those white rocks that, those white stones that you see, we'll put the revetment down there, and the water will only go up to the concrete steps. Go ahead. And this is the cost. And if I can get your attention, we, and I say we, Dr. Belton, Mr. McClinton, and Mr. Pugh, we sat in there and presented this. Once we presented this to the Department of Administration, they looked at us and said, is this all you need? Do you need more? And so I want to close by saying, we are experiencing a renaissance at Southern University. We're so happy to be a part of it. I told you before, we need to take a picture so we can see all who was here when this happened. This project is going to get done. Those projects are going to get done, and I'm happy to report it.
Outstanding, Maurice, outstanding. I just want to comment. Maurice Mr. Pitts, has stepped in as the interim director and has done a phenomenal job with limited information and resources. And we're very proud of you. We're childhood friends. I will not say the stuff we used to do.
Yeah.
We're going to keep that out of this. But we've known each other for a very, very long time. His father played football and idolized Maurice. So outstanding, Mr. Pitts. And I would entertain any questions from the committee.
Yes.
Chairman Short.
Mr. Pitts, the only thing I would say is that the plans look great. The looks like it would be wonderful. Just keep in mind, I like signage. I know we talked about a place where people can get maps. I love to come into a place and see signage that tells me, go whichever way, turn this direction. Lots of signage, I think, is important to making sure that visitors feel welcome.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Dr. Tarver?
I guess it's on now. Is it possible to put a weir system?
Hold it down, Doc.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I'm going to raise a question of whether or not it's possible to put a weir system at the end of the mouth of the ravines as it empties into the Mississippi. And I raise that question because one of the things you didn't mention was the fact that when the river rises a couple of times a year beyond God knows how high, it backs up water all the way through the campus, all the way through the ravine system, all the way back to the road going to the back of the campus. And when it recedes, it likewise drains soil from the, so, and I thought that maybe if we could put a weir system in, we could create a lake system throughout the campus. That may be one way of stabilizing the ravines on the campus and deal with the drainage out of Scotlandville into the Mississippi. Has there been any consideration of that?
You are 100% right. We got a grant for $326,000, and the Corps of Engineer brought in consultants to study just that. And that is one of the recommendations. And so what I did, instead of putting it all up here, I just went for the maximum amount of recommendations, and that is in this recommendation. I just didn't show it to you all today, but yes, sir. And also, I only pointed out the pain points. Those are pain points that we're experiencing right now, but there are a lot more points in this study that was done.
Have several questions, Chairman Rutledge.
Just 2 points regarding the bluff. I received a phone call, and the lady's name escapes me at the moment, but I did forward the voice message to Dr. Belton. I don't know the lady, but she called me to inform me that she and a group of her circle of friends, she frequently visits the bluff, and she was concerned about this facility that's being constructed there and did not want anything to obstruct the view. I returned her phone call. I had a wonderful conversation with her, and Dr. Belton had informed me of the restoration and the green light that we had gotten for the bluff, and I assured her that she would be very pleased after all of these improvements were implemented, and that we think that aesthetically this bluff is going to be more pleasing, and from an infrastructure or engineering standpoint, we're going to shore it up because we've suffered significant land loss. So she told me she would be watching the meeting, and I hope she is watching it, and I hope that she saw the presentation. Last point on the Student Life Center is what we're going to call this place. 1 point and 1 question. It's my understanding, based on my conversation with Dr. Belton about this, that we're essentially gonna greenfield this and build a ground up new facility. What's the thinking about where the temporary union will be held? And number 2, not so much for you, Mr. Pitts, but for Dr. Belton, but for the both of you, I want to make certain, and I know we're going to deal with this on another in another committee, the Student Life Center. I just want to make certain that in the design, I like what you had up here, but in the design and what you're going to put in here, please make certain that these students have some input and a seat at the table in terms of what the facility is going to look like.
Absolutely, sir. So where things are going to be located temporarily is going to totally depend on the timing to which things are done. First, Washington and that Bethune footprint will allow us to come up almost immediately with that dorm that will have vendor lease space and large spaces to hold things as far as temporarily, and then we would create something over in the library as well. I think they already have the smoothie shop and coffee shop over there. So we will try to enhance services in those areas before we do this, because I agree, I see them sitting out behind here after coming out of Chick-fil-A, and so they need that space to do that. I think we're still contemplating the construction and even the ways of construction, CMAR versus lowest bidder. We're still contemplating all of that. But as far as when we get to that, I will definitely make mention that we need to have a space for people to reside. I appreciate the question.
Yes.
Mr. Bartholomew.
Yes, I heard you mention the core, which is one of my questions was
Yes.
why we don't make them more accountable for the action that the Mississippi River is taking to degrade this particular facility. I mean, the project, because they need to be responsible some kind of way to prevent it from happening again, because they do have a lot of money in that area. And I think if we could push them a little harder to be preventive after you complete the project, to maintain and protect what we have completed, and let them foot that bill instead of us trying to get it.
So the Corps, Garrett Graves brought out the new colonel for the Corps. So he has come to the campus.
Yeah, but
and
not to touch up, your general overleads the colonel.
Oh.
So you get, what I'm trying to say is, get General Honoré to get involved in your conversation.
I was about to say that. General Honoré has come out with us. And that's the last person that they sent out here. And then they commissioned that study and then sent the consultants. So now we're in the stage, Dr. Belton went and carried the water to get the money. And so now we're in the stage to bring all those people back to the table. Now, I have certain issues with the Corps because they did the bridge project, and I believe that they did not, I believe they left a lot to be desired at the bridge project. And so now we're fixing that right now. So I really have my eyes on who is prepared, who can really do this type of project. And they're not at the top of my list right now.
Mm-hmm. But the idea is that once you complete what you're doing, what you think is outstanding, and you don't want anything to impede that, or deteriorate that. And that's why they have to accept that responsibility.
I agree.
The Corps itself.
Had Mr. Lawson, I think, in the Bakari.
Quick question, and your enthusiasm is infectious. So keep that up.
I get it from him.
And,
Yeah.
and I can imagine the trouble y'all got into growing up. So that's understandable.
Plead the fifth. Plead the fifth.
My question is, and it doesn't have to be addressed now. I asked a previous meeting about what concerns me is what we don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about the infrastructure, the plumbing, the electrical grid, things of that nature. Is there anything to address those issues and what you ask in those numbers?
Campus-wide or in what I presented?
What you presented, but certainly campus-wide.
Yeah, so obviously I wanted to address the drainage. I wanted to address the drainage. We have issues. My group is called out all the time because we have some serious drainage problems and plumbing problems. We understand that. If you noticed, everything I've got up here and said, I'm tearing the buildings down. I'm getting a green space and building up brand new. It's time for Southern to really take advantage of this renaissance that we're going through, so we're having brand new buildings. I would love to have this conversation because this is a maintenance conversation with my group. So I would love to get back with you, but in the interest of time, I want to move on.
And one quick follow, and I'm talking about the mains, not only the ones that feed the building, but let's also include the person that was over the entire United States Corps of Engineer, General Joe Ballard, maybe in the discussion.
Ballard.
He's a graduate of Southern University.
Yes, sir.
Too.
Yes, sir.
Brother Bakari.
Mr. Pitts, you've done a real great job at your presentation and the beautification of Southern. Now that we have the money, I want to know exactly what's the time frame for all of these projects to be completed.
So yeah, the time frame now, when the money is allocated, we will take about 6 months to 9 months for design. We have to get it right, and we have to take the time to get it right. So from that, you're looking at about a year for construction.
Are there any more questions?
Trying to get your attention, but I figured
My
you,
thumb, Brother
you were
Davis.
discriminating
We
against.
say the best for last, Fred. We say the best for last.
Okay, I'm gonna go back and tell your daddy on you, because you know we go back a long way.
Yes, sir.
Tell him you mistreated me up here. But anyway, and Mr. Pitts, I met your daddy through Charles Bates when he was coach here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going back to the old school.
Yeah.
But anyway, I appreciate your vision for the university, and Dr. Belton and all you. Y'all really need to lean on the Corps of Engineers. I worked for the Corps. My first job was working for the Corps. I worked for the Corps for 4 years in Illinois and in Arkansas. And if you ever in Little Rock, Arkansas, go to Clinton Library, the Arkansas River Basin, I did the economic analysis on that one. That was a multi-million-dollar project. Lean on the Corps of Engineers, because they're responsible, not only out front here in front of the, but all along this river bank, going back by the farm. They need to mitigate that situation, because not only out in front of administration building, but all the way back, you got sewer pipes that are draining into the Mississippi River, believe it or not, drainage pipes, and all the way back around that farm, we are losing soil. And they need to do the whole project. I mean, you know, if you're leaning on Graves, I know he wants to be the governor or whatever, but keep leaning on the Corps, because they have the money, they have the know-how, they have more engineers and hydrologists and people than anybody in this whole country. So they have the people, they know how. If you don't believe, have not, take a look at Little Rock, Arkansas. If you ever go there, go by the Clinton Library. That whole thing was just a swamp. And they came in and they created a soil base to build that library and all of the tributaries to that. And let me say, I was the one in my first couple of years did that project and did all the economic analysis. And Dr. Sahu, all of the models that we use, they all became reality. And I followed up on it, and all of the estimates about the economic impact, it all came true. That was when I was a young scientist. Thank you.
So very good, sir. I will do that. And just to let you know, I have put together an abstract to send to the Corps of Engineers, because obviously with the revetment and the embankment that we're going to have, I wanted to see if they would try to help me contemplate some type of hydrology that would, where we would be able to harness the power of the river and turn it into electricity. So I did put that together and send to them, and I'm hoping they'll jump on board with that. I think it'll be so amazing for us to be able to tell a story that the very thing that was destroying us, now we're using it to power parts of the campus. Very good, sir.
Chairman Rutledge, did you have one more comment?
Just one final observation. I know the foundation has invested about $600,000 in the development of a master plan, which is that development is underway, being led by CPEX for the Baton Rouge landmass. And I just want to make certain that there is some alignment between all of these necessary improvements with that master plan, that this work is going to inform the finalization of that.
I finally spoke with them this week. So we're on board. I think we're all on the same page.
Mr. Pitts, thank you so much. President Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to compliment Mr. Pitts for his presentation. I think in his narrative, he spoke to the fact that he was just offering a snapshot of our anticipated work along the Harding Boulevard. But I wanted to also share with you that our efforts are ongoing as is stipulated in the strategic plan for the Baton Rouge campus to transform the entirety of the campus. I want to give and acknowledge the work of many, to include members of our board on the legislative committee, Senator Fields and Barrow, who have integrated many of these, all of these projects into the capital outlay bill that include a new College of Business funding to continue to advance a new STEM complex, monies for roads, and of course, dollars that would ultimately enable us to move forth with the apartments, and the honors dorms. I should also say that the foundation has been very diligent, if you will, in developing a strategy that would enable them to build upward to 500 freshman dormitories, starting where we anticipate closing on that loan within the next couple of months. And so I would just offer to this board that we're not talking about a pipe dream here. In all cases, we have identified resources to make these things happen. And as I pointed out a couple of years ago, where we were guided by the aim to kind of mitigate some of the challenges that we had at the university from years past. But we said at that time that we are in a position to start growing the university. And by transforming the physical plan of this institution, it is our hope that we would appeal to more students to join us here on the Southern University landmass. We believe that what we're doing now is symptomatic of that strategy unfolding before your eyes. And so we're very optimistic that these projects will come to fruition. And again, we call on the board and express our appreciation for your support.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pitts. I will say again, you see the level of engagement and questions shows the excitement that. But I will tell you that what goes along with you and Coach Rollins, that you better come through. Yeah. We from Southern, that's what we do. So you better come through.
So I'd like to make one point. We are getting a new lift station. Lift station number 2 is being replaced. It's currently underwater. So although the pumps are hermetic, it's currently underwater when the river raises. So we're getting a brand new lift station. And I think that will address a lot of concerns when you talk about sewage and draining.
I think one more, Mr. Lawson.
And the chair alluded to it, because I know that master plan is out there, and I would like to believe, and I'm almost certain that that's addressing those issues. So I'm glad that you all are communicating.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Next agenda item is other business. Any other business hearing? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss it? Oh, Brother Shorter.
For other business, I wanted to address a quick question to Dr. Ammons. Doc, relative to facilities, the road behind the UC at Suno, have we given any additional thought to whether or not we want the city to do to possibly donate that over to the university so we can fix that, or where are we at in that thought process?
That's a part of the discussion that we're going to have with the city, ongoing discussions about that road, maybe becoming a part of the university, but at least a plan to get the condition of the road improved.
If I can help with those discussions in any way, please let me know, but that's a bit of an area that we definitely have to focus on, because like our chairman said, it's sometimes that road is the only interaction people have with the Suno facility. They come to the UC and they park behind the UC, and that's the only thing they see is a pothole-laden road that we've got to work on.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, one more observation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to first of all thank Mr. Pitts for the observation regarding the gymnasium and the health and PE building in Shreveport. That's been an issue there since I think November of 2019. But I'd also like to put on his radar the issue of the undergirding at the it's a downtown campus, the Allen building, Mr. Mr. Chancellor,
Yes.
it's where the nursing school sits. You won't see it because it's down in the basement. You'll have to put a HIPAA mask on to go down there, but the undergirding is steel, eroding, rusting steel. The concern is that if that isn't taken care of, that whole wing that fronts that corner of, I believe it's Texas Avenue, could potentially just cave in on itself. And I think that's been one of the considerations that my beloved chancellor has not been able to do all the things we want to do in that nursing center up there.
Mr. Pitt stepped out, but I made a note of that, Sam, and I'll get that information to him.
And,
All right.
Mr.
President.
Chair, and I would say to you that I was sharing this with the chancellor on last evening. I think Mr. Pitts referenced it in his comments. But we did speak about both of those projects with a vision of administration to the extent that they believe that it would be more cost effective to demolish the existing gym and build a new one. And the good thing about it is that they're willing to support that. That's the good thing about it. And secondly, they are very much aware of the health concerns as it relates to the remediation of that space in downtown Shreveport. And so they have also offered a commitment to try to redress that as well.
And if I'm correct, President Belton, the gym is not functional anyway, so we're not losing any space or any time. So they're already using some other facilities where the team can use or the school can use. Am I correct, Dr. Ellis?
Correct.
All right. Hearing no more questions or comments and no other business, I move to adjourn Facilities and Properties Committee meeting. So moved, it's done. Sorry about that, President, Brother Des Moines, I was on point.
No,
but you know, you would seem to be excited about these topics though.
No problem, no problem. Colleagues, as we move to our Finance Committee and recognize Dr. Tarver, we are due at 12:30 at the Valdry Center for the Malvo luncheon. So I just wanted to keep that in mind as we plow forward. Dr. Tarver. Let me also say that, colleagues, if you press your button, it's going to cut off the other person's mic. So please don't press the button until you've been recognized. And that way that'll eliminate the mic continuously going on and off. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee is now called to order. A roll call, Mr. President.
Yes. Dr. Tarver, Mr. Lawson, Mr. Gilliam, Mr. Hilliard, Attorney Shorty, Dr. Whitfield, Attorney Rutledge. You have a quorum, sir.
Thought you told me there we go. Item number 3 on the agenda is adoption. Can I get a motion to do so?
Motion.
Been properly moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda as it is printed. Any objections? Hearing none, so adopted. Item 4 on the agenda is public comments. Are there any public comments at this time on any item on this agenda? Hearing none, we move to item 5, action items A and B. A.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
In regard to action items 5A and B, and in accordance with the SGA's Constitution and proposed resolution, I move that the board approve the reallocation of existing student assessed fees to support the construction of a new student union subject to legislative concurrence from the Student Senate.
I'll second that motion.
Items A and B. Are there any questions? Any opposition? All of those in favor?
Excuse me, Committee Chair Tarver. That pending motion was,
sorry. There
I'm
you are.
sorry. The pending motion was just specific to action item A. So there needs to be a motion with regard to B.
I thought you read both.
Mr. Chair, then I will amend.
It was specific to B and not A. I apologize.
I thought he had included A and B. He needs to amend his initial motion in order to conclude that.
Then, Mr. Chairman, I so move that my motion would be amended to include item A.
And I'll second the amendment.
And B. It's been properly moved and second that we adopt items A and B. Any questions? Hearing none, any opposition? Those in favor, let it be known, sign of aye. Those opposed? Thank you. So adopted. Item 6, which is an informational item, A, finance update, 1, interim financial reports. I guess that's Mr. McClinton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The general operating budget financial statements were included in your packet. And any concerns that you may have or any questions that you want to address to me at this time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
would like to address Mr. McClinton, as I've done in months past. As I look at the general operating budget financial statements, I still have a concern that we're having financial shortfalls on the New Orleans campus and the Shreveport campus. And I would like you or either one of those chancellors to suggest what kind of proactive steps are we taking. I would not want to sit here and my fiduciary responsibility be remiss that we would repeat the situation that happened a few years ago on the Suno campus.
The shortfall, for example, I would say that with the Suno campus, there was a shortfall in revenue. But what they have done is actually adjusted their expenditures in order to end the year with a balanced budget. If you notice it, that under the over and under budget column, even though they had a shortfall in revenue, if you look down below, you also see that they have a balance left, for example, of $2,534,000. Those two, if you are the same. So what they're saying is that they have enough money in operating other charges in order to offset that shortfall in revenue. And we're watching it, and I'm comfortable that the monies are there, that they're not spending those dollars in other charges.
But you are constantly talking back and forth to them to make sure that this stays on point.
Yes, sir, I'm talking with the Suno. In fact, I talk to all the CFOs every month before we submit the reports to you. In terms of Shreveport, on the Shreveport campus, it's not the same situation, but they are using some of their CARES dollars in order to balance the budget based on the revenue loss that they're having. In fact, that's we'll be coming forward at the end of June, well, it'll be later and probably in July, and all these transactions will be posted, and you'll be able to see that we have balanced each one of those budgets. But I am comfortable that they will be able to balance at the end of the year.
Okay, well, just a little bit more, Mr. Chairman. Now the CARES Act, as I appreciate it, basically we had this month, we have to make commitments on that money or lose it. Is that right?
So
it carries over? Okay. By the same token, and I've realized too that some of the bylaws have not been fully written for the Recovery Act, but will we be able to use any of that money to offset these shortfalls? I know the bylaws are not there yet, but do we anticipate that they will be used to somehow help with these shortfalls?
You said the bylaws?
But they haven't been, as I understand it, formulated for the Recovery Act, now not CARES. Yes.
we have more latitude with the recovery funds than we have actually with the CARES dollars. And we are looking at that. And in fact, next week, I'm calling a meeting with all the CFOs to make certain that we're all on the same page and are using those dollars the way they should be used.
Is that it, Mr.?
Well, just adding one, as I appreciate it too, even the CARES Act has to be, well, it looks like, there's almost, well, that should be enough resources to help us. But as I appreciate it, even the Recovery Act monies will only be good through what, 2024?
Right. I was in a conference, in fact, yesterday, and it's my understanding we do have to 2024 on those dollars to spend them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, board members? Hearing none, we go to item 7 of the business. Is there any other business? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adjourn? So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Tarver. We now go to our governance committee, Chairman Lawson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now I'll call to order the governance committee. Mr. President, please call the roll.
Yes. Mr. Lawson? Attorney Shorty? Attorney Almondy? Mr. Gillum? Ms. Reeves? Dr. Tarver? Attorney Rutledge? You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 3 is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda as printed?
Mr. Chairman, yes, I move adoption of the agenda minus action item 5C. This is at the request of the administration. Action item 5C.
It's been moved that we eliminate item 5C from the agenda. Is there a second to that motion? Been moved properly. Second, discussion on the modification. All in favor, aye. Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 4, are there any public comments pertinent to the agenda as adopted? Seeing no one come forth, we'll go to item number 5, action items A and B. What's your pleasure? We got a motion to take these items in global. It's been properly seconded. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 6. Is there any other business that needs to come before the governance committee? Here not, I entertain a motion for item 7, adjournment. It's been moved to adjourn. I don't think we need a second, so consider this adjourned, Mr. Chairman.
That's the way you run a meeting, Mr. Chair. That's exactly right.
You sit next to the sheriff, man, and the lawyer. We did get along.
Oh, Mr. Gillum is taking note. Here we go now to Mr. Gillum, Personnel Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Personnel Affairs Committee is hereby called to order. Mr. President, would you please give us a roll call vote?
Mr. Gilliam? Ms. Williams? Ms. Bartholomew? Mr. Hilliard? Mr. Lawson? Dr. Tarver? Attorney Rutledge?
Thank you. Thank you much. Okay, thank you, Mr. President. We'll go down to item number 4.
Is that right?
And we will need.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gilliam.
We left someone.
Can I call, I think there was some confusion as it relates to the members. Can I reinstate the roll call, please?
Please, sir.
Mr. Gilliam?
Here.
Okay. Ms. Reeves? Dr. Tarver? Mr. Bartholomew? Dr. Whitfield? Attorney Almondy? Attorney Rutledge? You have a quorum now, sir. Forgive me for the correction.
No problem. Thank you very much, Mr. President. We'll go to item number 3, adoption of the agenda, and we will have to amend the agenda to delete item number 6. The appealee has made a formal request to delete this from our agenda today.
Mr. Chairman, I so move that we adopt the agenda minus action item 6.
May I get a second? It has been moved and second that the amended agenda will proceed as before us with the exception of item number 6. Number 4, we go to public comments. Are there any public comments regarding anything on the agenda of the Personnel Affairs Committee? Seeing no one approach the podium, we will go to action item number 5. And what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would second.
It has been moved, and this is in global, right? It has been moved and second that action items 5, 1 through 12 would be adopted in global. Those in favor, please let it be known by sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Hearing none. So ordered. These items.
Mr. Chairman, you got a point of order here. I think, you said 1 through 12, but I think there are actually 13 items on the list. Okay. We'll make sure the minutes reflect that.
Reflect this much,
Taylor
please.
Jarrell, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the correction. That brings us down to agenda item number 7. Other business. The only other business that I can think of, I'll start this off, there might be others, but we want to bring before the body that we're at that time of year. The annual presidential evaluation is before us. And the timeline appears to be something like this. We would ask for the process would start June 1, or with help from staff. We're going to request that board members getting those evaluative forms, that you would have those back to the board office by June 30th, and that we would be in a position to actually do the presidential evaluation at the July board meeting. I think I'm right on the specifics on that. Any points of clarification regarding that? Okay. Is there any other business to come before the Personnel Affairs Committee? Then we will move to item number 8, adjournment. Been moved and seconded. We are adjourned. We consider the Personnel Affairs Committee adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum. And Dr. Belton, you are okay with that timeline? We're good. Okay. All right. Thank you. We will go now to the full meeting of the Southern University Board of Supervisors. Mr. President, roll call.
Yes. Attorney Rutledge.
Here.
Attorney Shorty. Here. Attorney Armady. Here. Ms. Bartholomew. Dr. Davis. Mr. Fondell. Mr. Garvey. Present. Mr. Gilliam. Here. Mr. Hilliard. Here. Mr. Lawson. Here. Ms. Reeves. Here. Mrs. Smith. Present. Dr. Tarver. Here. Reverend Torbert. Dr. Whitfield. Present. Ms. Williams. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to ask you guys to reach out and make certain that we keep board members Talbert and Fondale in our thoughts and prayers. I don't know whether or not their homes sustained any damages as a result of the flood, but I'm sure that's impacted their ability to attend today's meeting. As you know, Lake Charles just really got walloped and was in the process of sort of kind of bouncing back from this, and to get hit again is pretty tough. So not only for them, but for all of the folks in that region. I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of today's agenda. It's been moved. Is there a second? Been moved by Mr. Shorty, seconded by Ms. Reeves. Is there any objection to the adoption of the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda stands adopted. We'll go down to item 4, public comments. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll go now to item 5, our special presentation. We've already dispensed with the Above and Beyond Award, and now we'll recognize Chancellor Pierre in acknowledgement of the $100,000 donation from Mr. Antonio Clayton.
Good still morning. Good morning again, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to acknowledge a $100,000 donation from our alum and former chair of the board, Antonio Clayton. we have been very, very happy to work with him to work on the naming rights associated with our virtual immersive classroom. And this is part of the, I would call it, upscaling of the Southern University Law Center to bring in more technology inside the classroom so that we could do hybrid classes, virtual classes, remote classes. And we were very, very fortunate to be working with the Virtual Justice Center from North Carolina Central University. They got us as a grant with the United States Department of Agriculture. And that room is a really high-tech room, and we will have a formal kind of presentation of the room. We're doing some more things to the room that I want to invite each and every one of you to see. And we believe that this is the future of where classroom facilities in the higher education space, and particularly at Southern University system, will be, because we are working now to have those kinds of facilities replicated throughout the system. Subsequent to that particular space, which we got through a grant 2 years ago, last year, we got a grant to do some more what they call distance learning technology facilities. We're working with the Ag Center, for example, and other places throughout the state of Louisiana. We're going to be doing some things up in Shreveport. And this is something we're going to be doing annually. In other words, our goal is to bring this modern technology throughout the system. We found a pathway to do that. And we want to replicate what they did in North Carolina throughout the whole state. These types of facilities are throughout the whole state. And we believe that the Southern University system can be the hub of all of these particular resources. So we want to thank Mr. Clayton for making that donation and the naming rights that go with it. We are proud to say that this could be a pathway to many things related to the philanthropic efforts of the Southern University system, and for us to elevate what we do so that we take our rightful place in the system of higher education.
Thank you, Chancellor Pierre, and we certainly thank our former colleague for his continued generosity on behalf of Mr. Garvey.
So Chancellor, you're saying that if you donate $100,000, you get your name on the room?
That is the initial going price. It keeps going up every time we do something. We'll have we will also have a second room available, probably and ready in another month or so. So we'll put out the clarion call for those who might want to have naming rights. By the way, Chairman Rutledge, Attorney Clayton indicated that you might be the next candidate.
I got $5 for you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chancellor Pierre, and thank Mr. Clayton again. We'll go now to 5C, the IBM Masters Fellow recognition. Dr. Warren.
Thank you, Chairman Rutledge. Dr. Belton, distinguished members of the board, I am excited today to announce and introduce a very special person, IBM's HBCU strategist, Mrs. Valinda Scarborough Kennedy, who I met a little over a year ago and who has become one of my icons in terms of corporate partnerships. I also would be remiss if I didn't say thank you specifically to Dr. Belton, to each and every one of our chancellors, to our academic deans, to our students, and to our IT team for something that they did expeditiously as recent as last night with the technology installation. And to Dr. Sahu and to Dean Andrews and Dr. Merrick and everyone who allows me to do this labor of love, I want to just say thank you, because it has now produced some miraculous things. And I'll let Mrs. Kennedy share what those things are. Mrs. Kennedy.
Thank you, Southern University System Board, for having me with you today. I am a proud HBCU graduate myself. I share that with you because while I did not attend Southern University System, I attended West Virginia State University. I share that with you because that gave me the opportunity to stand before you today, 35 years later, and be able to have this conversation. 35 years after West Virginia State University invested in me, I'm able to stand here and talk about the investment that your students now are able to take from IBM and go invest themselves. We have in IBM announced last year in my department, the IBM inaugural Master's Fellowship Program. The first year this program was created, there were 15 recipients. Recipients had to be nominated by their HBCU. I am very pleased to share with you that you were able to claim 20% of those monies because of your faculty nominating your students. Think of that. You claimed 20% of the checks that were written to the 15 students. On our website, it says that each student received $10,000. I'm very pleased to tell you, I called up Eric last year and said, when you speak to your students today, ask them how big the check was. And he said, excuse me? I said, ask them how big the check was. Each student, you will see the check today is written for $16,000. So when you look at these checks, we want to write more. I say we want to write more because I'm responsible globally for IBM specialty programs with our universities. That includes legal, medical, and HBCUs. I need you to nominate your students for our Master's Fellowship Program. I need you to nominate your students for the PhD Fellowship Program. And with that, I will introduce you to your winners for these checks that we have today.
Our first winner is Miss Amran Saeed. Amran.
Dr. Trivedi, do you want to join them?
Amran's faculty sponsor was Dr. Sudhir Trivedi. Congratulations, Amran. Our second winner is Mrs. Lauren Johnson, and her faculty sponsor is Dr. Humberto Burano Munoz.
Is a sponsor here?
He had a doctor's appointment. I told him I would be his proxy.
Okay.
Actually, I'd like Dr. Sahu to be his proxy. Dr. Sahu, please. Our third and final recipient is Miss Vaishnavi Kasala. Vaishnavi, and her faculty sponsor was Dr. Sudhir Trivedi. Congratulations, Vaishnavi. And one last final presentation we'll make very quickly. Ms. Kennedy.
Southern University System has 25 faculty who've taken IBM courses in some of the most in-demand technology areas: artificial intelligence, data science, Internet of Things, design thinking, quantum computing, and I could go on, but I will not. Those faculty have taught a total of 253 students. Of those 253 students, 164 of those students have been taught in data science. Why does this matter? Every year, 50,000 data scientists are needed. This started in 2013. If you doubt the need for your 164 students, think about the last year and a half when you've watched the news every day and seen a chart about COVID-19. Your 164 students are the data scientists of the future. To support that effort, IBM has been working diligently with your amazing team here. And while you've seen them going around and doing some things on the labs and doing some work, what I hope you're going to see today is the value of that. You're going to see IBM present an in-kind contribution today of $15,700,044 for assets that will generate the next level of data scientists.
Dr. Belton, Chairman Rutledge, and the chancellors, Dean Andrews, Dr. Merrick, and Dr. Sahu, would you all join us for a photo? That is only the start. Once we are able to install the additional licenses, that amount most likely will double.
And thank you again, Ms. Kennedy, on behalf of our board and our entire system. Thank you, Dr. Warren. We also thank you, Ms. Kennedy, for joining us last night for some good crawfish and shrimp. And we look forward to a very healthy relationship with you and with IBM in the days ahead. Members, we will go now to our action items. I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of action items 6A through E. It's been moved by Ms. Reeves and seconded by Dr. Whitfield that we adopt items 6A through E. Any objection? Hearing none, the item stands approved. We'll go now to our resolutions. Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, colleagues, our May 2021 resolutions are as follows. Our condolences to the Winston Lionel Broomfield family. Mr. Winston Lionel Broomfield was a native of Independence, Louisiana, and a resident of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Prior to enrolling at Southern University, he served in the Army and defended his nation's honor in the Vietnam War. Winston obtained a Bachelor of Science in Business from Southern University in Baton Rouge, and he never met a stranger. His charismatic and engaging persona contributed to years as a successful residential contractor, realtor, and administrator at Southern University. He passed away on May 4th, 2021. Condolences are also to the James Clarence Brown Jr. family. Dr. James Clarence Brown was a resident of Oxford, Mississippi. He was a prior chancellor of Southern University's branch campus in Shreveport, where he served for several years. He passed away on April 28, 2021. Condolences also to Dr. Moses DeJean Wilkins' family. Dr. Wilkins was a native of Rayville, Louisiana. He received a BS degree in economics in 1984. He was a loving and strong individual who believed in education and helping others. He touched many lives throughout the community during his life's tenure and passed away on May 4th, 2021. Our condolences also to the Henry Bernard Whitley family. Mr. Bernard Whitley was a man of few words, but one of many good deeds. He received a bachelor's degree in physical education from Southern University, and he was husband of the late Yvonne Jean Simmons Whitley. He passed away on May 14th, 2021. And finally, commendations to the 50-year graduates of Southern University that participated in the spring commencement on May 14, 2021. The class of 1971 were recognized as golden graduates, so many congratulations to our class of 1971. Mr. Chair, members of the board and colleagues, this concludes our May 2021 resolutions.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Williams. Is there a motion? It's been moved by Mr. Hilliard and seconded by Dr. Tarver that the resolution stand adopted and approved. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the resolution stand adopted. We'll go now to our informational items. And for those of you who will be presenting, I just want to respectfully and gently remind you that we are due at the Valdry Center for 12:30 today. We will begin with our legislative updates. Dr. Mary.
President, members of the board, good afternoon. I will make this very brief. Today marks the 6th week of the legislative session. We have 7 priorities that we were pushing for this session. I am pleased to report that all 7 are on track for fulfillment. So we will come back in June and let you know how that looks. You heard some of the things through Mr. Pitt's report earlier and Dr. Belton's report. So we will see the fruition of our labor come another month or so. Thank you so much. Any questions? I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Awesome.
All right, we'll go now to our medical marijuana update. Dr. Snowden.
Good morning. I will be brief as well. As most of you know, I presented back in February to show the increase of sales since our initial release of products in January of 2020 and also of July. But I wanted to say that we are on track and we're making significant progress with the program. On May 26th, we will be presenting our newest product, which is the vape pen or the meter dose inhaler. And we will have 2 different, excuse me, my allergies act up so bad. But our PTSD line, which is the super sour diesel line, and also the Freedom. We began taking pre-orders for the device and also the cartridges. We've gone from approximately 3,200 total product sales to over 10,000 within a month. So we're proud to announce that. And we have 2 positions that are available on Indeed.com. They are for part-time delivery drivers. So if anyone is interested, please go to Alera Holistic Healthcare to see those. I would like to thank everyone for their help with this program and helping to grow this program. And I'll take any questions at this time.
Any questions? None. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll go now to system president's report. Dr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the interest of time, I would defer any further comments at this time.
All right. We'll go now to our campus reports and we'll begin with Dr. Ammons.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have submitted our campus report, which is in the packet. But there are a couple of things that I want to mention. One, I want to ensure that SUNO will not spend any more than it has. We're not going back to where we were. And so Mr. Gillum's questions to Mr. McClinton, I want to just make certain that we have controls in place, but we're not going to do that. The second thing that I want to mention is in regards to our proposal to create a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. At a previous meeting, you approved the letter of intent for the Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Since that time, the Board of Regents has also approved the letter of intent. We had two issues that came back from the circulation of the letter of intent to chief academic officers. Those two issues have been resolved. One, there were questions about clinical rotations. And Ms. Reeves, I am happy to report that Oshner Health has committed to all 30 slots that we will need for our clinical rotations. In addition, LCMC Health System, New Orleans-based health system, has also committed 30 slots for our nursing students. The other issue had to do with whether or not we would be able to recruit faculty. We have developed a partnership with Dr. Sandra Brown, Dean of the School of Nursing, the College of Nursing and Allied Health Sciences here at Southern University, Baton Rouge, and the PhD program, and also the Doctor of Nursing Practice program. We will recruit those graduates to the faculty at SUNO. In addition, we have developed a partnership with the Southern Region Educational Board Doctor Scholars Program, and we will recruit from those scholars as well. So with that, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report. And again, our written report is enclosed in the packet.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Any questions of Dr. Ammons? Seeing none, we go to Dr. Ellis.
Good afternoon again. Just quickly, the Sussla Chancellor's report is included in your packets. However, would like to quickly mention a couple of things. One, our Academic Affairs Engineering Technology program has secured another National Science Foundation grant in the amount of $280,000, focusing on educational pathways and learning support services. We also recently were a part of a $750,000 collaboration with Wiley College and Jarvis through the AEP SWEPCO Foundation. Sussla's portion is $250,000 to focus on energy and STEM initiatives. And the last thing really is our graduation is tomorrow. I know we mentioned it at the board meeting last month. It's at 6 p.m. in Shreveport, Independence Stadium. I know it's a long way, but for those of you who can join us, we'd love to have you. And with that being said, a couple years ago, one of our SGA presidents that graduated a couple years ago walked into the financial aid office. She's a non-traditional student and just gave our financial aid director $1,000 and just really signified and exemplified the importance of giving back, and any and every amount can make a difference. And so I just wanted to acknowledge Beatrice Wright, our former SGA president.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Ellis. Dr. McMean.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, President Belton, and board members. I will be brief. On May 13th, we held in concert with USDA debt relief webinar, and that was a part of the stimulus funds for the Black and socially disadvantaged farmers. And we had 200 individuals that participated in that webinar, and representation was from all 1890s. It was quite popular. In fact, we're going to have a second part 2 will be held on Tuesday, May 25th at 11 a.m. And because of the popularity, I was sharing with a colleague, because I couldn't talk about it until today, Cedric Richmond, of course, who is no stranger to many of you, who's the senior advisor to President Biden, has asked that our extension program at Southern University be a part of rolling out the funding for the Black farmers. So next week, we will be with the administration and rolling that out. So we're really excited about that. And I thank Congressman Richmond for keeping us in mind as we try to get those funds to those farmers who desperately need it. And lastly, as you know, we are celebrating our 20th year anniversary of the Southern University Ag Center. Next week, we will kick off a 5-part speaker series, and it will be held at 2 p.m. on May 27th. And to kick us off will be Dr. Tarver, of course, who was a part of the establishment of the Ag Center, and also Dr. Leaudrey Williams. So we're looking forward to that. And the other dates will be June 3rd, June 9th, June 17th, and June 24th. We've circulated that information, but we will make sure you get it directly. I am really looking forward to it because I wasn't around when the Ag Center got started, so I'm looking forward to hearing the stories behind how this great organization was established and is still evolving. So, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. McMeans. Any questions? Chancellor Pierre.
Yes, Chairman Rutledge. First of all, I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for, again, supporting all of our requests. One of those requests I want to highlight very briefly, because we have representatives from Generation Esports. We have Ms. Farrah Jackson and Marcus, let me make sure I get this right, Marcus Watts and Chris Turner, who you heard from Mr. Turner last month in Shreveport. And I want to have them talk about, just very briefly, what it is, the vision with this esports, which I think could really benefit the whole system.
Good morning. I'm gonna be really, really brief. I know everybody's ready to get out of here and get to that event and get some food and fellowship. So Generation Esports is the biggest platform in America as far as esports. They service over 100 students throughout the United States. They just went global. They just did a fundraiser round of 10.1 million. I let Farrah and Marcus come up and briefly go over an MOA that was developed by Chancellor Pierre and staff and myself. Big opportunity for us to retention and diversity and inclusion within the space of esports. I think it shouldn't go unnoticed. And without further ado, Farrah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Farrah Jackson. I am the Vice President of Partnerships and Experience at Generation Esports. We are the largest video game esports scholastic gaming organization in the United States, servicing over 6,000 schools from middle schools, high schools, and colleges. Currently, there's $20 million in college scholarship opportunity for students to participate in esports, right? A gaming team. Out of that $20 million, 0 of it is committed to HBCUs because HBCUs does not have esports programs in place. Our goal here is to work with Southern to be the driver in the world of HBCUs and universities worldwide to present esports as an option for students to meet them in their space and know that college and career opportunities are afforded to them in the video game industry, as well as esports, and as well as STEAM as a whole when we talk about science, technology, engineer, arts, and mathematics. So here at Generation Esports, we would like to partner with Southern to shape a program with our sponsors, right, where we can shape a program over the next 3 years that would drive $1.5 million to support building esports labs on the campuses of Southern, as well as an additional $1 million in scholarship opportunities for those students to have the opportunity to attend, to participate in esports and hopefully attend here at Southern. We can leverage that type of support through our partners and sponsors through this partnership with Southern University to make sure that our students have the same opportunity, right, to participate in the space of video gaming. Video games is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Esports is the new industry, maybe around about 10 years, where students compete, or excuse me, young people compete to participate in championships. They win millions of dollars. They play for the professional esports organizations like FaZe Clan, Team Envy, Evil Geniuses. This is where our kids are today. And this is where we need to be able to meet them in their space, right? Using gaming and esports as a foundation to higher education and career opportunities. So we are really excited to hopefully shape this opportunity with Southern University to really build this pipeline between middle schools and high schools to Southern, and then really shape the world of esports. Like I said, originally, there's over $20 million in scholarship opportunities. HBCUs have zero access to that because we do not have esports programs, right? That there's a major win here. There's a school, Capitol High School here in Baton Rouge, a charter school led by an incredible young African-American female principal, Courtney Bell. That school has 70 students in a gaming program, 70 students that no one even knew that they had a gaming community. They didn't even know we existed until we adopted that school, powered by Logitech, the peripheral company, right? Now they know they have an entire community, an entire nation of other high schools and students that they can play with. But not only do they have 70 students, they have 25 African-American female students who play on a Call of Duty team, right? That we're not even aware of, that these young girls are playing against each other, not realizing that there's millions of dollars for them to go to any university in the country to participate in esports, to potentially get a scholarship to play on the Call of Duty team, right? So there's so many opportunities here. And if our students understand that, our middle school and high school kids understood that esports is a driver to HBCUs, there would be a drastic number of enrollment for students attending HBCUs within just the next couple of years. I'm gonna actually hand this over to Marcus Watts. And Marcus is the head of marketing at Generation Esports.
All right, I actually will be brief, unlike Farah. But no, we're glad to be here. My name is Marcus Watts. I'm the director of marketing. I'm a little taller. Thank you. At Generation Esports. Just to kind of give some numbers. First off, 83% of non-Hispanic Black teenagers play video games. It's a $20 million industry. That's our community. The gaming industry in a whole is bigger than the MLB, NBA, NFL combined. We need to be active in this space, and that's what this partnership is all about. If you all are not fully aware of what's happening inside your community with what Chris Turner is doing, you need to know that he's a leader in this space. Just this morning, I was on a call speaking with educators across the country about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and his name was the first one that came up. People asking if I get to speak to him, if they could speak to him. What's happening inside of esports right now is a huge push. When a lot of you are hearing esports, we don't want you to think about the games, the kids playing the games. We're talking about college and career pathways through STEAM. One of our main focuses right now is making sure that we're getting this word out, that what's happening around games, graphic design, running Twitch streams, production, management, all these things are skills that are derived from a bunch of kids playing games that we used to tell them that they should probably not be playing. So with that being said, another opportunity inside of this is also obviously the exposure of the Law Center and what's happening inside of the innovation, which is not seen anywhere else. So I'll keep it brief there, but we're really excited to be here. There's a lot happening inside of Generation Esports using this university as a focal point for driving college and career pathways. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Does that complete your presentation, Chancellor? Yeah, thank you. Dr. Sahu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson of the Board of Trustees, Board of Supervisors. The report for Southern University A&M College Baton Rouge is included in your package, and I think I'll yield and not highlight anything else to save time. Thank you.
Thank you. Chancellor Pierre took all of the time, but we certainly will yield to you, Dr. Sahu, if there was anything else you wanted to highlight, sir.
Would like to just quickly highlight three things. One, we had a 4-star general one of the highest African-American leaders in the U.S. Army, with the leader of FORSCOM with 700,000 plus who came, 700,000 plus Army in the FORSCOM. He graced our campus, and we had our own general honoree to induct our ROTC, and that was a really good day for us. And the second is that we are providing Dr. Davis outreach in the economic development area to the neighborhood and beyond through the College of Business. And the last thing that I want to highlight is that at every college, we have started the process as a commitment to continuous improvement. We are looking at reviewing and looking at improving our curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sahu. Before we adjourn, is there any other business? I just want to thank everybody for responding so positively to last night's event. Thank all of Dr. Merrick, who I worried to death about getting this done, and she got it done in a very compressed period of time. Mr. Bartholomew, who was our contact with the Lieutenant Governor, Ms. Taylor Jarrell, Dr. Renee, everybody who worked so hard to pull off last night. I think our employees were very pleased. A large number of them stopped me just to say thank you for doing this. And I certainly hope, Dr. Belton, we can find ways to, small ways. It doesn't have to be anything big. I mean, but it just, for us to have shown up in the manner in which we did, just to say thank you and giving them some crawfish and shrimp and so forth, as well as the fellowship, meant a lot to those people. And you can hear how they reemphasize it here today. So thank all of you for coming. I know the weather was inclement, but we hope to do something again this fall. Right, Dr. Belton? All right. Is there a motion for adjournment? Oh, no. Next meeting is in New Orleans, June 18th. Next meeting is in New Orleans, and when we come back in July, we will be back in our board room. Mr. Gillum.
Just one observation, Mr. Chairman, before we dash away. And I must have missed Chancellor Ellis's report as I walked out. But in the newspaper, just to be quick, this past Sunday, a little lady by the name of Jocelyn Staten, who was part, and you've heard me chatting about dual enrollment now for 2 years. This is what it evidences itself in. Got a little lady here on the front. Look at that smile. She will graduate tomorrow from Sussla. But guess what? She's also getting a diploma, high school diploma from Booker T. Washington. The irony of it is that she will get our degree a day or two before she gets her high school diploma. So just want to share that with you all.
Very good. Please join us at the Valdry Center, members, such that we can collectively honor Mr. Malvo and his family. Thank you.